January 18th, 1989, I died. When I woke up, I was in heaven. The man in the red Ford is deceased. I'd like to pray for him. He's alive! Papa! Your husband is very bad. I mean, we are doing everything we can to save him.
I'm so scared. God, please help us.
It's gonna be tough, but I need you. I'm all I'm ready to die.
The war on female genital mutilation in Kenya continues to face challenges. According to Sessional Paper Number 3 of 2019 on National Policy for the Eradication of Female Genital Mutilation, due to enhanced law enforcement, practicing communities have reacted with a change of tact to conceal the practice. Cultural celebrations during the outlawed practice are no longer carried out. The practice is now a private family affair. Anti-FGM crusaders are concerned by the trend. Agnes Pareyo, a survivor of female genital mutilation, runs Tasaru Ntomonok Rescue Center, a safe house for girls running away from FGM and child marriage in Narok County. Pareyo is attending El Kersher, a significant ceremony among the Maasais. The ritual is performed to transition Morans to Maasai elders. While speeches are traditionally a preserve of men, this time a female voice is heard.
Na hii Manyata hapa ndio mila yote iko. Kwa sababu hawa wana serikali yao, wana viongozi wao, na hapa ndio huwa wanakata kauli. Na tumekuja kujumuika na wao, tumekuja kuwatembelea kwa sababu hawa tunataka kuwafundisha kwamba kuna mila ambayo ni mzuri na kuna mila ambayo ni mbaya. Kwa sababu ile mila inaumiza watu wetu, tunasema ni mbaya. Na ile mila mzuri ya kushirikiana, ya kupendana, ya kujuana, ni kitu mzuri ambayo tunataka kuhimiza ili tupate kuwa Wamasai kama vile Mungu alituumba. Hatusemi mila yote ya Kimasai ni mbaya, lakini tunasema kuna mila mbaya kama ile ya tohara, kama ile ya kuosa wasichana kabla ya wakati. Wasichana
As far as matters of politics are concerned, governors, senior legislators met yesterday at a certain hotel, and questions are abound. Is there an alliance in the offing? Remember, Musalia Mudavadi has been quoted saying, and that's the ANC leader, saying that he is willing to walk the talk. If ODM leader Raila Odinga is willing to walk, or rather talk on, an ally, a partnership of sorts. On the other hand, ODM leader Raila Odinga says any talk about an alliance should come after the BBI referendum. So matters politics, matters of what is happening in the education sector, as well as what is happening across the continent, and focusing here on the EAC, the East African community. We've had a change of heart, or rather change of tact in Tanzania in regard to matters COVID-19, at a time where we find ourselves in a precarious situation dealing with matters of lack of oxygen at the Kenyatta National Hospitals there, where the hospital has been forced to suspend surgeries for lack of oxygen. Good morning once again. I'm Regina Manyara. You can find me on social media platforms under the tag, or rather name, Ray Manyara.
What's up? Hebu niwaulizeni. Umejipiga picha ukajiangalia mara mbili, unashindwa who is this fine thing? Ama ni mimi tu?
What happens?
Unajipiga picha. Unajiangalia mpaka unajiconfuse.
You're just that beautiful.
Manze.
Okay.
Okay. Did you confuse your camera? It's like you confuse your own camera.
Nimejichanganya hadi kamera yangu ilikuwa inakataa kufunction.
Si wewe tu.
Si mimi tu, unanifeel?
Na kufeel tu sana.
Manze, shukran D.
Victor, tukutane nyuma ya TED.
Kwa ile kona.
Sasa, Ray.
Kwanza, I've never seen Victor take a peek.
Yeah.
Ama Vic, kamera yako, simu yako ina kamera?
Come on now.
Uko na simu kama yangu.
No.
Una burn, Reggie.
Uko na simu kama yangu.
Una burn.
Mimi sina aibu. Do you know what I call my phone? This tiny one.
Lakini si hiyo ndio unatumia. Wacha kuchanganya.
Wewe.
Umeongea ukweli.
Doreen, you're that kid.
Watu kama anachukua picha anaweza kuwa anatumia hiyo kweli.
By the way, you simu si director?
Gun.
You
my
unatumia?
phone.
Well,
Mniwache tafadhali. Doreen, you're that kid when wageni wakikuja wazazi wanakuficha. Unaona?
tunachomanga.
Unachoma.
Ati nitakusema ati mama.
Mimi lazima niseme ukweli.
Wewe ni wale kusema ameficha chakula chini ya meza.
Ama wale wenye walikuwa na keti pale mbele. Teacher me. Gina was talking in class.
Doreen was that type, by the way.
Imagine. Snitches get
Mama
stitches.
Dija amesema yuko.
Umesikia Doreen?
Nani kuambia yuko?
Yeah, teacher mimi kanisa.
Wewe acha tuambie watu.
Anyway, this is my phone and I'm proud of it, by the way. Inaitwa Katururu.
Yeah.
Katururu.
Inaitwa Katururu. Sawa, Victor. Haiwezi piga picha, but iko tu sawa. It gets me connected.
Now that I've been told I don't take a picture, let me do this.
Good.
Ebu onyeshe.
Na ujiangalie mara 1 2 3.
Okay, I don't know why.
Aji appreciate.
I don't know why usually when ladies take pictures they have this kind of facial like.
Really?
What happens?
Hey, man,
Ni
shade.
default setting.
It's just a thing.
Is it
Unaambiwa
so
piga
painful
picha?
taking a picture? Is it painful or what happened?
What?
Inakujanga part of the unajua restore factory setting.
Ni kama kale kamguu.
Kama kamguu.
Kamguu ukieka, it's just a thing.
Lakini hiyo ninaitanga kamguu kabahati.
I have a problem with my tongue. Mimi si mguu ama mdomo, it's my tongue. It becomes very unruly. So
No, me I think ni Regina kipigwa picha hautakosa moja yenye imefunga macho.
D, you can also take a pic. We can see.
Mimi ni wakale kamguu, so unless kama watataka.
Wenye kamguu kabahati.
Si unajua.
Victor, we need to see your photo face. Victor, we are waiting for.
Na tu upload sai.
Can I shot in camera? Okay. It's loading.
Tunadhani uwezi?
Like you have to load.
Aya.
Una download camera.
You can zoom. That is it.
Mume muingililia tu pia nyinyi sana.
I don't know
Acha
how
achukue
whether you
picha.
can see that.
We need to verify.
It's pretty.
Let us verify. Ndio acha tuzumiwe in tuone.
This is like my passport today. Simepelekwa mbio. Yani you have to take a picture.
Ndio hiyo fiki.
That is it. See?
Ndio hiyo.
Victor, ni wewe ama ni brother yako?
Mimi hata sioni anything.
The person on the pic is lighter than what we have on set.
This show
Different
is
WhatsApp.
over.
Aye, nonetheless.
Okay. All right.
Tuko fiti, man. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
As always, tunasemanga, this is the only way to start your morning,
Sure.
man. My name is General Boy. The crew is already lit. We have such an amazing show coming up in not too long. Na mitandao ziko up and running. The hashtag kama K ni Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle ever remains to be at KBC Channel 1. Individual handles are at Victor Olo, at Ray Manyara, at Doreen Arage, and at Jane Wamboy.
All right. So we are going straight to...
All right, before we start with our first segment in the headlines, just a very quick look on how the roads are doing in terms of traffic. And as I mentioned, today we'll be focusing on Outer Ring Road. And just also a quick look will be on Feather. But let's just see how this specific route is doing in terms of traffic. And as of now, as just now, there's heavy kind of traffic beginning all the way from just where the road begins, coming all the way from Mombasa Road, heading through Outer Ring, given that this specific route goes all the way to Thika Road there. And just from here, as you leave the airport road coming through Outer Ring, this is just where there's really heavy traffic. And the sad part is that this is actually on both lanes. So it means as you leave areas around Mombasa Road through Outer Ring, and also as you leave areas around Thika Road, as well as all these other roads that branches off from this specific major road as you head over to Mombasa Road. That's just what it means when I say, or when I'm talking about both lanes of this specific route. Heavy kind of gridlock, especially around the Taj Mall area coming through the city center. In fact, not moving at all, just at a standstill. Part of why this road was expanded was at least to ease on the traffic flow. But it looks like this morning there's really heavy kind of traffic on both of these lanes along this route. However, things begin to slightly open up just as you near Feather Road there. Still on that lane coming to the city center, heavy gridlock there. On the other side, as you near Feather, this is just where things are opening up a bit. But altogether, it is a heavy kind of traffic. So for our viewers coming from this specific route this morning, and there's really also quite a lot of estates along the same road, you'll just really have to make do with this traffic. We'll try to look at some alternative routes here and there, but at least altogether, as of now, heavy kind of traffic all through the entire route. But it looks again also things are opening up just slightly a bit as you come to the city center past Feather, coming all the way again through Outer Ring. The beauty again on this section is that it's actually on both lanes. So it looks like where there's really heavy gridlock is as you leave Mombasa Road coming through Outer Ring, next to Taj Mall area, as well as slightly next to Feather on the other section. But away from these two areas, as you head over to the city center, at least it is not that bad. In areas or in sections where I'm seeing traffic is just a manageable kind of traffic, hence that orange color there. But again, also past there, as you get to branch off to Lunga Road, coming through the same route as you head over to Likoni, still heavy gridlock there. Again, also on this section, there has been a lot of ongoing roadworks, just again in terms of rehabilitating that specific route. Away from that, still coming through, still sticking with Outer Ring Road, as things are opening up just a bit away from Lunga, coming through the same route as you get to branch off to Jogo, as well as Manyanja Road. So on this section, at least as of now, along Outer Ring, on these roads in which we are looking at this morning, just in some sections here and there where there's really heavy kind of traffic, but at least altogether things are opening up on major parts of the same route, and this is where we are seeing more of the green as well as the orange color there. So what we'll try to do is just try to look at some better alternative routes for our viewers coming from those areas, given the fact that also Outer Ring caters for numerous kind of estates, not forgetting the businesses thereof. So we'll try to look at some better alternative routes for viewers coming from those areas, going about their businesses or even workstations this morning. But as of now, this is how it is looking like in terms of traffic along Outer Ring.
And now let's look at the copy of the Standard this morning on this April 7th here. And just a sneak peek of how it looks like. We have regional matters there, a change of tact in as far as the issue of COVID-19 in Tanzania is concerned. And this is because of President Samia Hassan, who is on a mission to chart her own political path there. And she's surprised many by seeking a change in Tanzania and how it handles COVID-19, as well as, you know, government's relationship with the media there. A sigh of relief. And since that particular journalist was incarcerated for a while, for some time, got released, it's the first time yesterday that they responded. And I'd want to quote what he said, because I think it's very contextual here in regard to what is making headlines. Let me try and find that. That is on page 23. And until yesterday, all media houses in Tanzania were barred from sharing local content or airing foreign information without approval from the Ministry of Communication. Press freedom coming back to Tanzania. How about that when you talk about female leadership, you know? A woman leader, a tinge of a difference, right? Well, those who thought that Suluhu would be a walkover, well, they need to brace. Well, that is what is happening in Tanzania. We'll be giving you details as we proceed with the headlines. Matters of our health sector there, as I alluded to earlier, is that the Kenyatta National Hospital has suspended surgeries for lack of oxygen there. We've yesterday we had the statistics where only 58 ICU beds within the red zone, that's the 5 counties that have been lumped up together, including Nairobi, have only 58 ICU beds that have been, you know, set aside in the public hospitals, and all of them are fully occupied. Now there's been a surge of COVID-19 patients, and they are in need of medical oxygen. Matters of succession politics, yes. Is this Raila's new alliance? What are we talking about? Is that there was a meeting in a hotel yesterday that brought together, you know, even the former UNCTAD boss Muhisa Kitui there. So question is, are we forming an alliance? Just to give you some of the names that were seen in this particular meeting in regard to this, you know, focusing on what has been captured on the front page of the Standard this morning. We have Anyang' Nyong'o, we have Kivuta Kibwana, we have James Orengo, we have Alfred Mutua, Charity Ngilu, Muhisa Kitui there. Just to name but a few that have found themselves on the front page of the Standard in regard to that particular meeting, talking about succession politics of 2022. And Kenya Moons, once again, a veteran musician. This is none other than Albert Gashero. He's a famous Benga singer, and what most people, or one of his albums or songs that is very popular, is Mwendo Wakwa Mariro. Now, I don't know if Victor and Doreen can actually relate to that kind of music, but yes. Yeah. You do?
Well, I don't know the lyrics properly, but
you've heard
somehow
it.
the tune.
That was a very famous song.
Mario.
Very good.
Mario. Something like those, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a sad moment, though.
Umeng'ara kama fiatu vyako Fiki.
Our producer says you must have dated a Kikuyu somewhere. But anyway, that's what he says. That's not what I said.
That was a famous song.
I'm just reporting what he says.
Urachoma, Baba.
For once, Victor may admit.
Anyway, as you say, we are one huge village.
Exactly. I got some tutorial somewhere.
The source does not matter.
Yes, my Sunday school teacher was a Kikuyu. She was a very nice lady, so I got some tips when to Marco Mario. But anyway, condolences to the musician. The hits were apparently hits, and the music lives on.
Absolutely.
And my love shines like a mirror. Yeah.
Like the sun on the mirror.
Like the sun on the mirror. Just some translation there. Sawa? Tuko sawa?
Yeah.
Those people who shine like mirrors. Huh?
To whom it may concern.
Hey Jane, wacha kuchoma, man.
Standard.
Well, that's what we had on the front page of the Standard. May he so continue resting in peace.
Absolutely.
And Albert Gashero was not just a Benga musician. He's also served as a, Music Copyright Society of Kenya director, and he has been eulogized as a man who was out to help musicians. His brother says that Albert Gashero began singing while in primary school, and in fact he had composed a song while in class 4 at Igwamete Primary School. Woi, Igwamete. So it means uko kulikuwa kunaanguka miti ama baria. We see his industrious career did not just start yesterday, and may he so continue resting in peace. He passed on Monday at the Kenyatta National Hospital after battling pneumonia.
All right, let's get to the front page of the Daily Nation before we get to touch base with Victor with a copy of the Star. And starting with the story that is here on the head of the Daily Nation in regards to, again, the steps that Tanzania's president, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu, is taking towards COVID, and in the media specifically, which have been under, looking at how they have been in the recent years, there has been a lot of controversy, and especially looking at the gagging of the media, and more recently, how the country has been handling COVID-19. We'll be giving you details in a bit. Again, today, the journey towards our search for a Chief Justice. This is a piece that the Daily Nation did highlight, that they will start just narrowing down their focus on the 9 candidates that were shortlisted as potentials to be filling the Chief Justice position. Moving on to the main story here on the front page, revealed that these are the IMF conditions when it comes to this recently approved loan of 257 billion Kenya shillings to Kenya. They have spelled out governance, conditionalities and timelines within this 3-year loan maturity period, and they have gone ahead to single out 9 parastatals that have been making losses over the years that need to undergo a whole, overhaul to just stop and, sort of cover up those leaking holes when it comes to issues to do with corruption and loss of funds in a public, in state-owned institutions. Onto some politics is that looking at the deputy president's big gamble. He has a strategy that would potentially help him win members of parliament over. But what is the risk? He does risk to sidestep regional kingpins, which could prove to be fatal to him in terms of his political journey. We'll be giving you details in a bit. Some information in regards to KCPE is that KCPE candidates will start receiving their results as of next week. And this is according to the information that was put out by the CS, that is yesterday when he was addressing this issue. And finally, this whole conversation about murders in the family. In as much as the rate of crime has gone down over the last year, generally speaking, it seems there has been a sharp rise when it comes to killings within families. And this is something that we actually, we were talking about yesterday, spilling over into today, the way there are so many people within the family setups that are offing each other. And here they've chosen to focus on the most recent incident involving 19-year-old Kevin Okal, who beheaded his grandmother. And they have captioned this particular story as the anatomy of a killer. Details coming up in a bit. Victor.
Now, before we have a Victor there, how about you take a breather? Then the gentleman can prepare why he's going to be highlighting for us as we continue focusing on what is making headlines in the dailies.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Pleasure will never accept you. She will do everything she can to make your life miserable, until she destroys you the way she destroyed your mother. You don't know how much I would like to ask him openly about your carcinoma now, but it might cause a crisis. No, you can't expose him. Nothing like that.
Oh, I feel so helpless not being able to kiss you anytime I want to or need to.
I know.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Come and be gentle. Respect a good one. Now we upon nobody to give our motivation. Me I gonna make it out the sticky situation. Have to believe in myself.
Goodbye to the region again, to achieve anything again. Goodbye to the children again, and then achieve.
Close my eyes are falling dreaming memories.
Out in the street, they call it murder.
Okay, welcome back. You are still watching Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. We are still taking a look at what's making the headline, what's trending on today's local dailies and what's in your local dailies. With me here is the Star newspaper, and the headline says that how public debt has ballooned in Uhuru Ruto era. That is how public debt has ballooned in Uhuru Ruto era. And now there is a debate over the IMF that Kenya wanted a loan of 255 billion shillings, and IMF has approved a 255 billion shillings facility that can be used for budget support. It's not a loan and has no interest. That story continues on page 4 and 5 on the Star newspaper. And here with me, 50 Nairobi MCAs contracted COVID-19. And according to Nairobi Assembly, Majority Leader Abdul says that he contracted the COVID-19 and infected members of his family. He spent 3 weeks in isolation at home after testing positive on March 19. That story continues on page 2. And let me just give you a brief overview here. Nairobi County Assembly Majority Leader Abdul says that he contracted COVID-19 and infected his family. He spent 3 weeks in isolation at home after testing positive. Now, Guyo says that he moved a motion of adjournment yesterday, saying that the House was greatly affected by the pandemic. He said that 50 MCS contracted COVID-19, with at least 35 having recovered. However, 4 are hospitalized, 2 on oxygen support, while the rest are under home-based care. Now, that is according to Nairobi Majority Leader Abdi Guyo. And the musician, the lady who apparently, who allegedly killed her soldier husband, has been detained for 10 more days over the death of the soldier, as investigations continue into the murder. And now IEBC has declared Abdul Haji senator-elect. This is after IEBC gave a declaration of no contest in a special gazette notice yesterday. So we have got senator-elect. This comes after the death of his father, who is the Abdul Haji, will take over. Garissa Senate left vacant by his father Yusuf Haji, who died in February this year. All right, so that story continues on page that is on page 2 of the Star. And just to give you a brief history of how Kenya has been given loan from different lenders, we have got IMF, we have got the World Bank, Africa Development Bank, and we have got EU and US. and all of them are in billions. And in total, as at January 2021, according to the CBK data, domestic borrowing by Kenya hit 3.532 trillion shillings domestically, and external 3.819 trillion shillings. In total, Kenya has taken a loan in the past 12 months of 7.352 trillion shillings. 7 trillion in the last 12 months. Wow. So you can take a look at that story on page 5 of the Star newspaper. We are going to delve more as we continue with the show. Ray?
Back to some of the stories that
Absolutely.
are making headlines on our different dailies. And how about we start with matters education, where TVET has been directed to go online, and this is after suspension of all physical learning, as all technical and vocational education and training institutions were yesterday directed to immediately start online classes effective yesterday, and this is following the suspension of all physical learning. So the TVET Principal Secretary, that is Margaret Mwakima, said the department had developed strategies to ensure training and assessment continues in TVET institutions. So this particular article well highlights some of the strategies that the TVET institutions have employed, at least to ensure that they continue with their learning in as much as it's going to be online. Coming to matters KCPE and KCSE, so this is what the CS is saying, that in the next 2 weeks, candidates should be expecting their KCPE examination results, which will be released after those 2 weeks. He said this, he said that the marking of the multiple choice-based papers had been concluded, while that of English composition and Kiswahili Insha still underway. So these are just the 2 papers which are still remaining. And he further on continued to say that as far as KCP is concerned, in the inside of the next 2 weeks, the results should be out. And should there be any change for any particular reason, they will let us know as a ministry. And also, he also said that the initial this initial results he further on continues to say that they are also on track and that candidates are not doing that badly from the initial results which they had gotten earlier on. And he also continues to touch on the issue of exam cheating, saying that multiple agencies have been put in place, at least to ensure that that is taken care of. And this again is the issue of exam cheating, coming at a time where there has been quite a reports here and there about such cases of exam cheating. Also, this comes at a time when still KCSE is still ongoing up to the April of 21st. Those exams are still ongoing, even as KCPE candidates expect their results in the next 2 weeks.
Talking about education and giving you details, you need to be careful exactly what you use your cell phone for. Now, ABC Kiseveni Secondary School principal in Machakos County was arrested yesterday after posting KCSE mathematics paper on her WhatsApp status just hours before kickoff time. Now, according to a report prepared by our very own reporter Otiende here, indicates that Bete Mutuko was picked from the school yesterday for questioning by a team of detectives led by Machakos DCIO Rhoda Kanyi, and reports indicate that the principal has shared the mathematics paper on WhatsApp on Monday evening for the candidates to study overnight ahead of sitting for the actual exam on Tuesday. Now, Mutuko's phone has been confiscated as a probe into the exam leakage continues. In her defense, the principal says, or rather has denied knowledge of the said leakage, claiming that someone must have maliciously updated her WhatsApp status.
She had put the National Examination Mathematics Paper 2, which was starting this morning. We are just going to handle her phone to the cybercrime DCI headquarters so that we can know where the exam originated from to go to her status in the WhatsApp. We are commencing our investigations, and we shall, if we find out that she is the one who put it herself, she will just face the law according to the National Examination Council guiding rules and law.
Well, those are the scenes and pictures of what was happening down there at ABC Kiseveni Secondary School there. The embattled Beta Mutuko. The principal says, well, the leakage, she's not aware of the leakage, and it was done maliciously. We'll be keeping tabs on that at a time when the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, has said that this particular process is going to be seamless and cases of malpractice will be treated as heinous crimes there, and those perpetrators brought to book. So we'll be keeping tabs on that. And I don't know if this story has made its way on your various dailies, Victor, Doreen and Jane, in regard to what is happening down in, Kitui, where now the Kitui government has taken over dealing with issue of defilement cases there, after it emerged that, defilement cases there were being handled by kangaroo courts, or rather in kangaroo courts. These are where you have a case of defilement where a child definitely is involved, and the parties therein decide to do an out-of-court settlement. The county lawyer says that this has gone over to deny justice to those who have been wronged, and has said going forward they'll be taking up that matter themselves as a county government, and I laud them for that move at a time when police in Kisii County have launched a manhunt for a man who allegedly defiled a 6-year-old who happens to be his stepdaughter at Nyamare village in Marani sub-county. This is a story that has been prepared by Jacqueline Mambiru, and I'd want to draw your attention to what the mother of this child had to say after the husband, or rather after the police came after the husband. Here's a report.
According to residents, the explanation from the mother claiming her daughter had been injured by a nail in a domestic incident was not adding up. The angry residents who took to the street to demand justice for the little girl claimed her stepfather, Julius Ogambo, age 50, had just returned home from Rift Valley, where he performed menial jobs, when he violated his daughter.
They came up with a false story of saying that it was an accident, but because of the structures we put in place, we have officers who are able to examine the baby, and they realized it was a very bad defilement case, and they did first aid, and they referred the kid to our KTRH, where the baby, I can confirm, is doing quite well right now under management, and the other issues now we leave all the investigation under the police, because that is their role to do that.
He had married the child's mother as his second wife following the death of his first spouse. The child was rushed to Marani Sub-County Hospital before she was transferred to Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital for specialized treatment. Marani Deputy County Commissioner David Saruni confirmed the incident and warned the local community against concealing such crimes. Gender lobbyists in the area have come out strongly to condemn the incident.
Let us protect our children as neighbors. Let's own children as it was in the past, that children belong to the society, by voicing up any of these issues and helping in investigation. Don't hide those. Your
girl amekuwa defiled. Tafadhali toka nje, sema ndio utapata usaidizi. Wakati unanyamaza, hakuna vile ule mtoto atakuja pata usaidizi, hakuna vile mtoto atakuja pata haki yake, na wewe kama mama hautapata haki.
Huu wa corona, vile kuna lockdown, watoto wetu wako nyumbani. Tusipowatetea, ni nani atawatetea? Mtoto akiwa nyumbani muangalie.
Security security officers are on the track of the defiler as the investigations onto the matter continues.
Now, the backstory of that particular piece indicates that the mother, when this came to the fore and the irate community took to the streets to find justice for that little girl, the mother said that it was an accident. She had actually sat on a nail because her dress was soiled in blood, and the best response she could give in support of her husband, who is currently on the run, who is the perpetrator of this heinous act, she sat on a nail. Victor.
Wow. Strange things happening there. And
I think you need to make me understand, because you're the man here, and I'd want you to take the bullet at this point.
Yeah.
At what point does a girl who calls you dad, who you brought to this world, become sexually attractive to you as a man? At what point?
Well, maybe on my side, I can't just answer that question because of no experience. But there are some people who are just lunatics. I mean, you know, some things do happen in families. For example, it's a form of revenge. Somebody's somewhere hurt in a certain way, and because you have got a disagreement with your spouse in your house, then you tend to vent your anger on your daughter. It's the same way somebody says that if I commit suicide, then all my problems are solved. Or if I kill someone, then the problem is solved. Not having in mind, no, I'm not even thinking that nikifanya something, it's going to affect another person. I mean, it's just horrible. How do you start going about defiling your own daughter? It's unspeakable, man. I'm a man, and certain things are just hard to take. I don't know. It's just hard to take. So if another day.
But also,
let's continue.
Victor, before you continue.
Sure, yes, Doreen.
I think also for that part where the mother defends the husband and brings out that story that the child had sat on, is it a nail?
Yes, a nail. It's very absurd.
I think that is where we also lose it, because when it gets to a point where you start defending the perpetrators just because they are your husbands or they're people that are close to you, then we will never sort of fight this war against such kind of issues. It's sad.
We need some sanity. And men, please, men, we need to protect our daughters. We need to protect our wives. We need to protect our mothers. I mean, our sisters, it is our responsibility. We are meant to protect. And the history of men, even in war, men are always in the front line. Women are always left behind. So let's take that leadership role and give guidance to the society. That's all. There's no excess about that. All right? Okay. So let's continue and take a look at what's happening in the Star. And North Rift faces lockdown insecurity crackdown. According to the government, will lock down North Rift in the next 48 hours and impose a dusk to dawn curfew and launch a formidable security operation and forced disarmament. Now, county leaders only recovered 3 guns in the region that suffered from a leadership vacuum and where leaders fear residents. That's according to Regional Commissioner George Nantembea. Now, Nantembea said that the government decided to declare the whole region a security operation area and commence forced disarmament of warring communities. Now, Nantembea continues to say that the 3-month grace period for voluntary surrender of weapons failed. So North Rift is an operation area in the next 48 hours. And the weatherman says that heavy rains are expected in most parts of the country, and during the next 7 days, during the forecast period, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Kisii, Nyamira, Trans Nzoia, Baringo, Uasin Gishu, Elgeyo Marakwet, Nakuru, Narok, Kericho, Bomet, Kakamega, Bungoma, and Busia counties will receive morning rains on Tuesday and Wednesday. And that is actually happening right now in Nairobi. So wherever you are, make sure that you keep safe, and as a driver, just be cautious. And by the way, be cautious of other road users, the pedestrians. Don't go about splashing water on others. I mean, it's not proper. And ODM Elections Board meets over delayed grassroots, and the party is expected to spend 220 million shillings to conduct the exercise, according to a budget presented to the Secretariat by National Elections Board Chairman Catherine Muma. The budget is, however, subject to approval by NEC, which is yet to meet today on Tuesday to discuss the matter. And to Kisumu, Governor Anyang' Nyong'o says that home-based COVID patients flouting rules will be charged. And let me just give you a brief. He says that offending patients will first be transferred to county isolation centers and taken to court upon testing negative for the virus. Flouting isolation guidelines, putting the resident at risk. He's also said that he has further directed all county staff who don't offer essential services to work from home to reduce traffic in the offices. That is the story making headlines in the Star newspaper.
To give you further details into that story that has been highlighted about, that 48-hour notice to lockdown the North Rift there. This comes after the government has also suspended a 30-day amnesty for residents of Baringo County to surrender the illegal firearms, and has announced, that's why they have announced that immediate resumption of forceful disarmament operation. Now, according to Rift Valley Regional Coordinator George Natembeya, locals had been given up to April 23rd to voluntarily surrender illicit firearms, but there's been a resurgence of, cattle rustling in parts of Baringo, Turkana, Pokot, and Laikipia counties that have forced the government's arm in this move. A detailed report by Caroline Kamau just helps us paint a picture of what is happening down there in the Rift region. Remember, issues of cattle rustling. We even had a unit within the APs dealing with, cattle rustling and issues in that area. Here's a detailed report of the current situation.
The Monday incident that saw renewed banditry attacks in Lamaiwet, Baringo County, have seen the government suspend a 30-day amnesty for residents of the restive North region to surrender illegal firearms.
Ingawa ile siku ya 30 days indakana kusha tarehe 23 mwezi huu, tumesema tuna muda wa kungoja. So far ile kazi ambayo imefanyika itupatie matumaini makubwa. So tumesema turudie ile kazi ya operation ambayo tutaianza kuanzia kesho. Tuna resume operation kuanzia kesho, na wakati huu itakuwa operation ambayo itakuwa na makali zaidi, kwa sababu tutaenda kutarget sio Baringo peke yake, tunataka kuongeza pia Turkana East na pia kuongeza upande wa Laikipia.
Instead, the government has announced immediate resumption of a forceful disarmament exercise. Speaking Tuesday, Rift Valley Regional Coordinator George Natembeya said preliminary investigations had established that a clique of rogue politicians were encouraging locals to disregard the amnesty and had turned the voluntary disarmament process into a supremacy contest and a campaign platform.
Wakati wananchi wameshawishiwa kuleta bunduki, unapata viongozi wengine pia wanasema kwamba hizo bunduki zikiletwa lazima walipwe shilingi 1,100. Hadi mtu akileta bunduki kama ni G3 ama AK47 apewe shilingi 1,100. So ikawa kwamba watu wanakuwa reluctant hata kuregesha hizo bunduki. Na tumesema kwamba kama hivyo ndio viongozi wamefika stage kwamba hakuna movement, maana ni kama wanaanza kulumbana, tukasema kwamba hizo objectives zetu za hiyo operation zinaanza kuwa frustrated, tukaendelea kungoja sana.
Natembeya said security personnel had managed to dismantle criminal gangs that were sponsoring cattle rustling enterprises in Laikipia County, while a major operation will focus on Silala location within Baringo County to mop up illicit firearms.
Mambo ya roadblocks tunaziregesha kuanzia leo. Tukitoka hapa kwa roadblocks zote zinawekwa pale, kwa hivyo movement into that area itakuwa restricted. Ndio ilikuwa mwanzoni tulikuwa tunafanya hivyo, watu wakaanza kuleta siasa nyingi kwamba chakula ifikii watu, na sisi tulikuwa tumesema kwamba hii chakula ina target majangili. Kuna watu ambao wanapelekea majangili chakula, wengine wanaona mahindi tu. Sisi tunajua kwamba kwa hiyo mahindi kuna uwezekano hata kuna marisasi imebeba pale. Huwezi kutarajia kwamba askari 5-6 ambao kwa barabara lori imekuja na imejaa mahindi 100 kwamba watamwaga magunia yote chini, unajua kama kuna bunduki.
In February this year, the government launched a mop-up exercise of illegal firearms in the region following the killing of 2 police officers by suspected cattle rustlers. High-level security teams were deployed in the volatile spots in Baringo, Turkana, Laikipia, Samburu and Elgeyo-Marakwet counties. The operation was called off after governors and elected leaders from affected regions undertook to mobilize the communities to abandon cattle rustling activities and surrender their weapons to the government. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1. How can I be a mute spectator? That is not possible. You should have been with Korviki. But where is Korviki?
I'm here.
This is where you would enter from. And as you get my signal, capture the queens, and then capture their sons, and then capture Bindusar. On January 18th, 1989, I died. When I woke up, I was in heaven. The man in the red Ford is deceased. I'd like to pray for him.
He's alive!
Grandpa! Your husband is very badly injured. We are doing everything we can to save him.
I'm so scared. God, please help us.
You know, it's gonna be tough, but God needs you. I fall like I'm ready to die.
Welcome back. We are glad you are still with us. This is still in the headlines, and as we draw to a close of this particular segment, I just want to bring your attention to 2 particular stories here on the Daily Nation, and this is one of the stories that is actually on the front page. The concern about the rise of killings within family setups, in as much as the rate of crime has actually gone down over the past year. But looking at the cases that have been reported, most of them have been within the home setup, and it covers both page 4 and 5. They go on to highlight a number of cases, starting with the most recent in regards to this 19-year-old who severed the head of his grandmother and went surrendered at the police station. Then there's another incident that happened in Embu that is still under investigation after a man hacked his brother. with an axe. Over what is said to have been disagreement over the inheritance of some piece of land. One wanted more land than the other because he had sold a piece of his previous share, so he ended up hacking his brother with an axe. There is another incident here. And this is by yesterday, police in Kangundo were looking for the killer and this is according to the sub-county in this particular area, one Phyllis Kanina, who revealed that there was a fatal conflict where brothers turned against each other over food, chakula. It ended up with one brother killing the other with a djembe, and this other one now looking at how he can escape, and up until now he's still at large. However, he's still being looked for. Then there's another incident where a woman, 26-year-old suspect in Kiambu, was arraigned in court yesterday, actually, after killing her husband, who is being suspected to having killed her husband, who is a KDF soldier. Also, that is still undergoing investigations. And looking at these trends that have been happening, most of the cases they have found either are love triangles, issues to do with spates of anger where they're having a disagreement and they randomly just lose control of their temper and act out of anger in violence, and consequently we get to see cases such cases of people killing each other within the home setup. And that brings me to this other particular story here that I was actually asking my colleagues. And this is a piece about a woman who says her husband tracks her every movement through the phone that he bought for her, and he's now demanding that she stops communicating with all her male friends. And I want to hear from you guys, you know.
I think that is the highest level of insecurity you know, if you're in a relationship, first of all, you have to give confidence. You, as a person, you must have confidence in your woman or in your husband. I mean, there's a lot of insecurity. Sasa, you're talking to your male friends. Are you an island?
Yani unambaia simu, alafu umeka kamalwe yaka kumtrack, and mind you, the guy is between Kenya and the UK. Na anamwambia, achana na hawa wanaume wote, any male friends that you have, to an extent that when he is around in Kenya, he actually snoops through her phone at night and calls some of these male friends and tells them to leave his wife alone.
Jen, do you know that's the only reason that will make that lady to leave the man?
And do you also think some of these reasons are what are leading to some of these issues that we're seeing about partners killing each other?
Yes.
Insecurities.
Because you just feel insecure.
Jealousy.
I mean, long-distance relationships are always so hard to handle. But then, man, I don't know.
This is obsessive, man.
Well, I mean, some would say that sometimes insecurities could stem from like past issues, underlying issues, but still it is not justification for such kind of thing that this man is doing. And also it is a red flag, like a serious red flag. The moment you get into a relationship or even in that marriage setup and someone monitors you like that, that is where you should really be drawing the line, because anyone who alienates you completely from persons that you knew before this person came to your life, I mean, it's I don't know even why someone would stay there, because the way you're saying, Wamboi, this is actually what leads to such kind of murder cases. And looks like this is some of those stories that you'd hear whereby you just want to think this person needs to get help even before they get into such kind of a setup. It is very dangerous. I mean, someone who goes ahead and calls your contacts.
Imagine.
You should
in
really,
the middle of the night.
You need help. It's help you need.
Why do I feel as if you are... But please have some coffee on my bill. Because I'll say this without fear. There's nothing as... that is a serious turn-off for a majority of women. Why are you so insecure?
I think that is...
And I do not exist in a vacuum. I mean, that's why you're even there, aren't you? So if I can't talk to my colleagues, my workmates, my friends, and anyone who wants you to cut off your support system, is someone you need to take off
big red flag
from. Because if someone who wants to isolate you And once you're isolated, I mean, let's give an example of what happens in the wild. When a predator is hunting, yeah, they isolate their targets.
The vulnerable one.
And if you watch National Geo, when it happens to the buffaloes come back. They come back.
Yeah.
And that's why I told there's security in numbers. And they actually even do away with the lion or whatever predator that was hunting that they had. So this person wants to isolate you, you know. And I always ask myself a question on a personal level. So if you're monitoring who I'm talking to, where I'm going, who's monitoring you?
If you're minding my
But again,
who's minding your business while you're minding my business? And it's a serious standoff. It's not even something that we need to be discussing at this point. I mean, why did you go after this woman or this person that you're... And it's the same way. It also fits on the other shoe. Even us women, we have a couple of us who are ever on the phone, the wallet. And I want to go back to what my aunt told me some years back. Regina, if you go snooping, you will get what you're looking for.
Yes.
Then she told me, and I don't know if I should speak in my mother tongue or translate it to English.
Just say the way she said it.
Kemeru amwezi shikai. I told you my tongue is too heavy. The only person who can understand my accent maybe is probably Martin, who happens to be the director. Doreen. I know.
Say the way she said it, then you translate it later.
I will get it through osmosis.
My aunt told me.
Doreen.
Okay, really?
From the top? Make it drop?
My aunt told me, mwanamume si ng'ombe ya kufuga ama kufunga kwa kijiti. Sawa. You cannot tie a man on a tree.
Ray, that statement is heavy.
Like, you're not zero grazing a human being.
Tethering.
And you need to be confident in who you are and what you represent in your relationship. This man is a grown-up, or rather, this woman is a grown-up.
I think, Ray, something you've said, and that goes back to what Dee also said. It also goes back to the underlying issues.
Yeah.
The foundation upon which you started your relationship will determine so much. Okay? How you're going to make it. If you started your relationship on shaky grounds, on mistrust, I mean, on issues on end, morning and evening, who is that talking to you on phone and all that? It will just follow you. You will not even have peace. But again, as you put it, you cannot tether. I mean, it's both ends. I cannot tether.
You cannot zero graze a human being.
You cannot zero graze a human being.
And human beings do not, we do not exist in a vacuum. And it's the same way it goes. Those people who send fare and cabs, then they monitor the movement of the vehicle. I find that to be very insecure, or even video calls. You know those people who do video calls? Video call nione maliuko.
So let me ask these questions to you, ladies,
Yes.
on behalf of men. So ladies, you love a man with confidence.
Definitely. Be sure of yourself.
Is that it?
Yes.
Confidence.
Kabsa.
Okay.
Many effort, my friend.
I'm answered.
Confidence.
Na confidence.
I'm speaking on behalf of millions of men out there.
Tafadhali.
Confidence is key.
But, you know, there's some advice that I received the other day when it comes to relationship, and especially modern day relationships, you know, because also looking at this story of the recent uprise in murders within the family, it's mostly involving young families. And this made me think really hard, because when it comes to relationships, and mostly committed relationships, we come in with our own expectations. Each one has their own expectations. You need to understand that you are two very different individuals who are coming from two very different backgrounds. And if you are getting into a committed relationship,
you have to
not
compromise.
just casual
You have
dating,
to compromise so much.
No, I think we misuse this term compromise, because I feel it goes back to understanding why this person behaves the way they do.
Yeah.
Because you might find somebody, and this is an example that I was given, this lady says, you know, with the husband, when you go ushago, them as the wife, munaingia jikoni, munapika, mnafanya nini nini, wanaume tunakaa hapa, kawaida tunaongea. But looking at the way this young lady was brought up, kama ni kuingia jikoni, mimi, brother yangu, sister yangu, si sote tuko jikoni. Hakuna ati vijana wanaketi, wasichana wanafanya kazi. But looking at the way this guy was brought up, wasichana wanafanya kazi, wanaume wanaketi. So when you're now married, mumeenda ushago, this lady is not used to that. And when you put her in that situation, wataanza kusema huu ni msichana wa aina gani umeleta hapa? Why don't you serve me tukiwa kwa ushago kwetu or at my parents? And looking at this girl, how she's been brought up, kila mtu anajisavia chakula because there's no gender that is shown that you are better than this other one. Brother yako akimwaga chakula ni wewe uchukue kitambaa upanguze. No. Brother yako akimwaga chakula kwa meza ni yeye anaendea kitambaa anajipanguzia. This is how this young girl was brought up. But the way the husband was brought up?
Totally different.
Totally different. Very traditional. The woman is meant to be seen, not to be heard. It is the wife's responsibility to serve the husband and her brothers and all. Na yeye, bro, mimi kwetu kila mtu anajisavia chakula. Very simple things like those. Even when it comes to dressing, you know, there are those that feel ukivaa skati kojia magoti, it's borderline nudity. And you, mali umetoka, I mean, it's just another way of dressing. I go by the weather. So when you're getting into committed relationships, take time to understand how this person was brought up.
Wow.
If you are looking for long-term commitment.
To have open engagements on our expectations, and that brings a cap to matters in the headlines, but we're not done yet. Being a Wednesday morning, we're still going to look at matters, go deep into matters of politics, and Victor will be coming back with that. What has been happening in the political arena? I just want to give you a note. Watu wa kina Doreen, people in Kakamega, that is, Mukombero has become a cash crop now. And in case you're wondering what the English version of Mukombero is, it's white ginger.
Can we see
white
some
ginger?
Isikuti for that reason?
That's how you have tomorrow. Fantastic.
Represent
my shoulders can move. But it's a wrap
tomorrow.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap on in the headlines. We take a short break. We'll be right back.
All right.
All right, so let's take a quick look at what is happening on the roads in terms of traffic. We're still focusing along Outer Ring Road before we embark on our first discussions this morning. Let's try and see if things have changed or it's just as how it was. And in fact, things have changed and now there's heavy kind of traffic along this route. Let's see how... as you leave areas around Taj Mall, Feather, which earlier on there was really heavy kind of traffic, looks like it's just still the same situation. And this comes all the way as you leave Mombasa Road, coming through Outer Ring, given the fact that this road begins from there, going all the way to Thika Superhighway. But at least around Taj Mall is not that bad. It has opened up altogether, and now it's just green all through, which means it's a smooth sailing all through as you leave those areas coming to the city center, and also as you come from all the way from CBD, Thika Superhighway, as well as all these roads that branch off from Outer Ring Road, coming through the same route as you head to enjoy into Mombasa Road. Also on that section, rather on that lane, still things have opened up altogether, smooth sailing, just on some sections here and there around Taj Mall where there's a little bit of building up of traffic, but at least altogether manageable kind of traffic. In fact, this goes all through past just again, before you get to Feather, that is also where things are beginning to just get a bit thick on that section all through as you head over to the city center. In fact, all through that area is just heavy kind of traffic, not moving at all, at a standstill. And this is why we are seeing that maroon color, which is a clear indicator of that, as well as some sections, the red color, which again just simply means that there's still heavy kind of traffic moving at a very, very slow pace. And again, as I mentioned, this comes all the way as you just before you get to Feather Road, that area there, as you head over to the city center. However, on the other side, still on that same area, it looks like things are opened up altogether, green all through, no traffic at all. So for our viewers coming from these areas around Embakasi, via Outer Ring, areas also still around Feather, coming still through Mombasa Road, if at all you intend to use Outer Ring, then this is one of those areas where you'll have to make do with the traffic. And this again, if you intend to use Outer Ring coming to the CBD, or using Outer Ring going all the way through, all the way to Thika Superhighway, and also if you intend to branch off to this as the roads that branch off from the major Outer Ring Road, on this section there is no alternative route, so it just means you'll have to make do with that traffic. But if you can remember also, I mentioned that this is one of those roads where there has been a lot of ongoing roadworks. Even up till now, there's still a lot of ongoing roadworks, and part of what just came up from this specific route was it began with the expansion of Outer Ring Road, given the fact that it accommodates a lot of estates, numerous of them on this specific route, not forgetting that it's also a commercial center in terms of businesses, companies along this route, quite a number of them as well. So this is why this road was expanded, just to ease on the traffic flow. The ongoing roadworks on this specific route is now in terms of those footbridges that are just being installed here and there, at least reducing the number of death cases, because when this road was expanded, the number of death cases that were being recorded on this road were a lot. So many of them, rendering it the number one road in Nairobi to record the highest number of death cases. And this is because it lacked those footbridges, because it only meant that pedestrians will intend to use the major road, which is the highway, as opposed to these bridges. So part of what they're trying to do is to ensure that at least all the different designated areas and parts they install these footbridges. At least as of now, is about 6 that have already been installed and already opened up to the public. Still some here and there are still ongoing, at least again to just make it easy for pedestrians as they cross over from one side of the road to the other. And also remember that also these bridges result at least to reduction of traffic, because if you have some of these major roads and you lack that, then again it means that they'll have to use the roads as opposed to the bridges. But now coming back to traffic, still things are getting thick past the Feather estate, or Feather Road rather, still sticking with Outer Ring, coming all the way. And this is why I was saying earlier, if at all you're using this route or intend to use this road this early morning, then that early morning was just the best time for you to do that, because as of now, in fact, past Feather, coming all the way to the city center, heavy kind of traffic just in some sections here and there where it looks like it's opening up, but altogether on major parts of this route, heavy gridlock. In fact, this continues all the way next to what used to be the Donholm roundabout, and also as you get to branch off to Jogoo Road, as well as branching off to Lunga Road, which again there's still some ongoing works in terms of rehabilitation of this specific road. Again, as you get to branch off to Likoni Road on that section, this is in fact how it is looking like on this area, which is to be the Donholm roundabout. Look at that, the difference in colors there, the cocktail of colors, just an indicator of the heavy gridlock there. Some parts we are moving at a very slow pace. That's why we are seeing that red color as well as maroon. And also again, as you get to branch off to Manyanja Road, which is again on one of those roads that has also benefited from the reconstruction or the rehabilitation of this specific route. And this is how it is looking like in terms of traffic, at least not that bad. So also for our viewers coming from areas around Jacaranda, Donholm, coming to the city center, not so bad for you. On the other side is just where we're really spotting and seeing the heavy kind of traffic past Manyanja, past Jogoo Road, still sticking with Outer Ring as you head over to Juja Road on that section, also not that bad. On the other side is just where there's really, a difference of because that's why we're seeing that, the red color there, which is again indicator of the heavy gridlock moving at a very slow pace, which is again very interesting because it's on that lane that is leaving the estates, which is not what we'd expect to see on major roads, but this is how it is looking like this morning. So again, also past this area, there is no alternative route if at all you're coming to the city center, unless you use Jogoo Road, because again today, it's so interesting, it's not really that bad. Green all through And the beauty is that this is actually on both lanes. So again, as you come to the city center via the city stadium, roundabout there, and also leaving that area, coming through Jogoo Road, not really that bad. So also for our viewers coming from these areas, or if at all you're still coming from Outer Ring and you intend to come to CBD, then you can branch off to this specific route, get to use it as the alternative route as opposed to going all through via Outer Ring. However, there's just still some bit of gridlock here and there just before you get to the city stadium, but also it's only on that section. So this is just where you'll have to put up or make up, put up with that traffic there. On the other section, on the other side, coming all the way from City Stadia, as you head over through Jogoo Road before you get to branch off to Outer Ring, smooth sailing, no traffic at all. So if you're coming from CBD, again, it's just a smooth sailing for you there. As coming to Lunga Road, again, things are opening up. So I've seen as much as there's traffic, at least here and there, things are opening up a bit. And this is why I keep saying all the time that traffic changes every single second. Away from that, coming still with Outer Ring, things getting thick. Also, as you get to branch off to Mtindwa, coming still to be the same route. However, if you're coming to the city center past the Donholm roundabout, it's just a smooth sailing, no traffic at all. So you can also clearly use that as one of your routes there. And this is how the roads are looking like in terms of traffic. This morning, we've just been trying to focus on what has been happening along Outer Ring Road. And again, this is also simply because of those ongoing roadworks. So again, it also means that this is one of those routes where we'll continue to keep a close eye on until all these 11 footbridges that have been put at different areas are already installed and opened up to the public, and trying to see how all of this will be impacting and affecting traffic flow on that route.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1. How can I be a mute spectator? That is not possible. You should have been with Corvity. But where is Corvity?
I'm here.
This is where you would enter from. And as you get my signal, capture the queens, and then capture their sons, and then capture Bindusar. Tonight on KBC Channel 1. Just like everyone. Now we upon nobody to give my motivation. Me I gonna make it out this sticky situation. Have to believe in myself. To the region again, to achieve anything again. Goodbye to the children again. Another children. I close my eyes, are falling to the memories. In the street, they call it murder. Ileska umada.
All right, welcome back. Of course, you are watching Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. My name is Victor Lo. If you just joined us, you will not miss much. And of course, you are going to get much more in the next 1 hour. We have got an amazing show lined up for you. So, you know what, you don't have to go anywhere because we have going to talk about issues, insecurity. We are going to talk about matters IMF. Remember, Kenyans are talking the 255 billion shillings loan by the IMF. We are going to talk about the economic turnaround that the country is facing. We are going to talk about politics and so much more. So get talking. Talk to us on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow us. Let's get your comments, your feedback, and even your questions to the analysts we have in studio who are going to help us to dissect these issues beat by beat. With me in studio, I have Dr. Joseph Rotich, who is a governance analyst, who is an economic and governance expert. I also have one gentleman called Muntalo Advice, who is a communication strategist, who is also a political and communication strategist. These gentlemen are going to give us an overview and what is happening in Kenya and across the globe. But just before I start, let me just give them their time to say hello to you. Let me start with Advice. Good morning, Advice.
Good morning, my brother. It's been some time since I was in studio.
Yes.
But it's hello to Kenyans. I hope everyone is keeping safe during these COVID times because the third wave is actually real.
Yeah.
So even as we discuss matters politics and the state of the economy, it's important that all of us take the precautions.
Absolutely.
And stand guided by the guidelines by the MOH.
By the government. We're going to delve much into that. And Dr. Rotich, good morning. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good morning, Victor.
Have you been vaccinated? Let me start with that.
I have been, yes.
It would have been a very
I think if vaccination actually means protection.
Yes.
Protected.
Right.
As I'm seated here.
Yes.
And I also urge our Kenyans
as a doctor
to embrace the vaccination issue very seriously.
Yes.
Because as we are talking, COVID-19 is a real threat to the nation. So they have to respond promptly. The only unfortunate thing is that we know that we may be running out of the vaccines.
But the government says that they are on top of everything and soon
we thank God for everything. If it will be available within a short time, it will help majority of the Kenyans. So of course, you know, of late, Kenyans have removed the very perception that they had. I mean, the fear that they had that the vaccination was not very safe. But as it is now, I think Kenyans have embraced that vaccination is actually key to our protection, especially our health.
And the data shows that more men have taken the vaccination more than women.
And you can also know, you know, Victor, the majority, the majority of the people who have actually died are actually men.
Yes.
So maybe that is the reason why they have responded that very positively.
Right.
I think the ladies or females are more resistant to this problem. But that is not a guarantee that we are telling them that they have to stay free. They have to remain with all the regulations that they are supposed to follow on a daily basis. Thank you so much, Victor.
All right, gentlemen, we are going to get into details with that, but let me start with one issue. Kenyans are talking. They are petitioning the IMF. They don't need a loan. I don't know how this is going to pan out. Let me start with you, Dr. Do you think we need this loan? 255 billion shillings. Do you think we need it as a country?
I think, Victor, we must be very real as Kenyans. We have come a long way. The kind of infrastructure that was laid down during His Excellency Mwai Kibaki's regime has been one of the most expensive infrastructure we have ever had in the country. And going by that, we talk about several investments that this country has done. You talk about the railway, you talk about the SGR, you talk about the roads that you see all over, you talk about electricity, you talk about everything that you can see today, Victor. There is, much of what we are seeing could not have been done without loan. And when we talk about the IMF loan, which Kenyans are actually reacting, it is anything to do with the management of the loan. It is not about refusing the loan. Looking by what was explained, it was actually to break the cap of the COVID-19 demand, to buy the vaccines, to do all sorts of things. But you see, what has been in the background of the minds of the majority of Kenyans, Victor, is about the KEMSA issue, that scandal that has actually, it took away the belief and the trust that the majority of Kenyans actually had in the management of some few individuals. But you see, this one is an isolated case. When you talk about the KEMSA, whereby the head of state has given that maybe within a period of 21 days, I mean, the verdict of those or the culprits could have been actually unearthed. But you see, to date, Victor, nothing has been done as that sort. The investigation is still on. So in that case, at the backdrop of Kenyans' minds, they are saying if we are not able to manage this, if we could not fill what, say, 1.2 billion, which was spent in the whole scenario, and what is so special about this 255.9 billion that these people are actually seeking from IMF. So in my own understanding, the suspicion is based on the mistake that really happened with the KEMSA issue. Otherwise, Kenyans has impressed the availability of the services that we will not be having now without the loan itself. So to me, I think the government should come up very clearly and draw the line on what they want to use these funds. You see, when you talk about a blanketed kind of approach, a wholesale kind of approach, Kenyans cannot believe that at the moment. It has to be given in black and white, that this is what, this much will go to this way, this much will go to this way.
But Dr. can we survive without a loan?
And let me tell you, Victor, for your information, much of what this country has done, it has done under a loan. So it is like we have conceived a foreign stomach. Right. That must be fed by the foreign money. So in this case, much of our infrastructure, much of what we have done in this country, we cannot survive without loan. And you can remember, Victor, when His Excellency the President was asked while he was in Mombasa some time back last year, he was asked whether he will still go to China for loan. He said, yes, I will go. Much of what has been done in terms of electricity, in terms of other infrastructures like the roads, in terms of SGR, in terms of all the economic development that we have witnessed as a country. You see, the most important thing, Victor, is that Kenyans are yet to appreciate. Because when you talk about SGR, it is a mega investment. When you talk about the Thika Highway, it is a mega investment. And the only mistake that this country committed at the beginning was to go for the commercial loan, which they did it both commercially and, I mean, for domestically and international. And that loan has matured, all of them. We spend almost $1 trillion to service the debts. And that is the feeling that Kenyans are actually, I mean, they are feeling the pinch.
Mundalo is itching here, and I don't know what's going to be your take, because IMF says that, the government says that this money, it doesn't attract any interest. What is your take on this? Do we need this loan? Which says that, yes, we need a loan and we need to have our services running up and down. I mean, do we need this loan?
I agree with Dr. Haji up to where he says we basically need loans for development. Even for personal development, we even as individuals go to the banks and take loans to do many things. But then you don't take a loan just because you qualify for it. And that is the problem that we are having here. We have gotten to a point where as a country we feel like we are overborrowing. And that's why Parliament starts to feel like they have no authority, because even the glass ceiling that they have set up, it has been surpassed. We are a country that is now beyond the 7 trillion mark. So we are far beyond. So are we just then borrowing because we have a right to borrow, or are we just then borrowing because we qualify to borrow? And another problem that we have with this borrowing is, in as much as the borrowing is for the benefit of the people and the republic, it must be directly proportional to the feeling of the people. If the people are not feeling the loans, then that means it's not consummated it's not worth it. As we speak today, 200,000 Kenyans have signed that petition to say IMF should not give us loans.
How is it? Is it going to work? Is it going to sail through?
Of course, it is not going to sail through, because the IMF doesn't listen to social media. And that's why it basically is not going to... It is something that is going to create perception. It is going to affect the perception of the government. Of course, it will put also in a bit of negative light. But in terms of the loan approval, I don't think it will affect the loan approval. At the end of the day, we're going to have this money. But then the question is, to what use do we always put this money? If the president told us that we are losing 2 billion every day, that means we'll lose this money in 100 days. That is actually less than a year. We'll have lost the money that we have borrowed. So, in as much as we qualify for the loans, because I'm sure we cannot be given a loan when we don't qualify for it, but in as much as we qualify for these loans, are they trickling down? Is the common mwananchi feeling the effect and the impact of these loans? Because look at the KEMSA scandal that was there recently. Look at every other corruption scandal that we have in this country. Look at the corruption scandal behind the SGR. So are our loans benefiting individuals more than they are benefiting the country as a whole? And that is the whole point. And also, is the government staying within the legislative framework, whereby when we say we are not supposed to borrow beyond a certain level, are we sticking to that? If you're not sticking to that, then what is the need of the parliament then? Because we must be able to work within a certain time frame, and we must be able to work within laws and structures and legislations that have been put in place. And that is the whole problem. But generally, as a country, the people of Kenya are not feeling the effect of these loans. And that is where the problem is.
So what next? Because at the end of the day, development must be carried out, all right? We have surpassed the 7 trillion mark.
Yes.
So what next for Kenya? Are we going to sit back and say, okay, it's a done deal, we're not going to borrow anymore? The Kenyans are petitioning IMF. So are we going to move to another lender? Or what do you expect?
I think what is next for Kenyans as it stands today is just that Kenyans need to wake up and get to the reality that governance is of essence here. And leadership is what is important. Because at the end of the day, President Mwai Kibaki left this country at less than 2 trillion of a loan. Today we are past 7. That means actually we have been increasing our debt by about 1 trillion every year. So that basically shows you that it's about, it rises and falls on leadership. So Kenyans, in as much as we are complaining, in as much as we are saying, we don't want this debt, but what do we do when time comes for us to choose our leaders? Because when we choose the leaders that are going to take us back to debt, then we should blame ourselves more than we should blame the leaders, because every other person and every other country, we only get the leaders that we deserve. So the only next thing for Kenyans today, the only thing that they can bank on, their last straw of hope, is in the next dispensation of the election, whereby when we are going at the next time that we'll be given opportunity and we'll be told, go and then go and get your MCA, go and get your member of parliament, go and get your president. Are you going to think soberly? Are you going to remember this debt, or are you going to remember your tribe, or are you going to remember your local interests? That is the problem.
Dr. What did I say?
I think the issue at hand, Victor, when you look at the extent at which this country has gone, as far as the infrastructural development is concerned, it is something we can appreciate. The only big problem that, the only thing that Kenyans don't seem to see is the yield of what we have invested so far. Because when you talk about the Thika railway, is it paying? When you talk about the railway or whatever from Mombasa to is it paying? No. When we talk about so much of the investment that we are talking about, are they paying? That is where, you see, you look at it in terms of, short term and long term. Much of the investment that this country has put in place are actually long term in nature. And of course, even the reaping, the cultivating back is still long term. And of course, it is taking, it is taking a long time to be felt. And that is why Kenyans are overcrying. Not that this country has not done anything. When you look at, when you go outside there, Victor, you can see major projects that are going on. Talk about the roads up, down. Talk about the railway, talk about all these things. There is something that we can smile as Kenyans and say, surely this country has done something. But you see, the few cases that we have, the hiccups that we have, and I can tell you, Victor, the reason why Kenyans overreacted by signing against the IMF loan, it is basically based on almost 1.2 trillion, or the money, how the KEMSA issue was actually managed. That is based on that, basically. And then again, the imagination that, of course, there is this mega corruption that is happening in this country. But that is something of another, that we needs a lengthy discussion. But there is something that my friend actually touched it. The issue of leadership. When you talk about leadership, my friend, we have the legislature, we have the executive. You see now, some few days ago, you see the senators, they are talking to their president through the media. You talk about the parliamentarians, they are talking to the president through the media. Where did we go wrong? The legislators are the people who are, they are low, let me just remind you, Victor. Last year, 2019-2020 financial year, the parliament actually recommended for the government 635 billion shillings to subsidize, or rather to back up the budget of that financial year. And then again, when the government, the executive also had actually requested for the extensions, the lifting up of the tax, the apex part of it, from 6.5 to 9 trillion. Now we have a budget of, at the moment we have a loan rate at almost 7.6 trillion.
Actually, it's 7.352.
It is 7.3 after topping up the IMF. Now, looking by that, it means that the government has been moving as by the acceptance of the parliamentarians. They are yet to reach the 9 trillion mark, the highest ceiling that was put by the parliament. And then they also open up to the minister and the executive that you shall be borrowing. And this borrowing that we are talking about today, the IMF issue, part of it is to service the debts. That means, yes, part of it is to service the debts. Right. Part of it is to mitigate the issue of the COVID-19. Yes. So these are emergency issues that requires emergent attention.
Doctor, let me bring to your attention here. IMF gave Kenya in April 2021, the total amount that Kenya has actually borrowed is 7.352 trillion shillings in the last, that's dated January 2021, all right?
Yes.
So the question is, how are we going to service these debts? Because we have got 108 billion shillings from World Bank. We have got that's a total of 468 billion shillings from Africa Development Bank, and so much more.
You talk about the loan that is matured as of now, Victor.
Yes.
The government has been, that is why most of the calls have been, they are asking the government that they have to reschedule. To reschedule means they have to look at them, they have to increase their time frame, they have to request a matter loan to service the already matured loans. And what the government is actually doing, it is actually on course. The only problem that we have is that our loan has been increasing. And Kenyans don't seem to appreciate what the government has done.
Yes.
But the moment we open our eyes and see the infrastructural development that has been done in this country, we would be able to say, yes, despite the problem that we have now as a country, at least we have development that we are seeing. Not all is lost. You cannot say 7.35 trillion shillings, that is the debt of this country, that nothing was done. It will be very ironical that we perceive that way. The only thing that we need to do as a country, we need to open up. We need to explain to the public, this is what we want to do. You need to scale down. The budget should be very clear. And it should be seen to have been done.
Yes.
You see, the blanketed kind of budget that we normally show is what is causing the concern among the Kenyans. Like when you also ask, does these signatures against the loan will deter anything? It may not deter anything, but the message has been sent home.
The message has been sent home.
That is the bottom line.
Let me bring in Mundalo here as a communication strategist, and he's talking about the government should come out openly and explain to the citizens, this is what we are going to do with the money. It is here. Our total borrowing, we have got a mark of 7 trillion. We have surpassed to 7.352 trillion shillings. Are we lacking communication? Are the leaders lacking communication to the public?
You know, governments exist for the people. The people are the primary reason why the government then exists. The feeling of the people is what the government is supposed to listen to. Governments are only seen to have worked effectively if the people they are serving feel like the government has worked effectively. It then does not matter how many roads you build. For as long as your people do not feel like you built the roads, then you have not worked. So in as much as Daktari is using a lot of energy to defend the government, and saying they have done a lot of infrastructure projects, which I agree with very heavily, that they have done a lot of infrastructure projects. But also, the common mwananchi is looking at what then became of the corruption scandals behind the projects. Yes, we have the project, but the corruption in the project is more, appears to be more than the project.
So it's about suspicion. It's not even about the loan. It's about the suspicion.
You look at the SGR, for example.
Right.
The government, when it starts this project, it tells people that they are going to have an electric train.
Yes.
What is there is not. And nobody has really tried to make the common mwananchi understand why then it's not like that. So there is, as you put it, there is a communication breakdown as well in government, that they are not able to really put out their agenda clearly to the people, that the people can then understand what they really mean. Because you really are not going to convince a common Kenyan who cannot afford a mask that we need more money to cushion COVID-19. Because this Kenyan feels, what is that money for?
Right.
I'm here at home. I cannot afford a meal. I cannot even afford that mask. So where are we using this money for? It's until you make them then understand that we are doing 1, 2, 3 things. But that is then when people will get to understand. But bottom line, we also have to agree.
Let me be a devil's advocate here.
Yes.
Right now, we are seeing the highway being built from airport heading towards south to ABC Place. The whole highway, Wayaki Way, is under construction. We have the SGR, which was built by a loan, all right?
Yes.
We also have the ports of Kisumu, the ports of Mombasa, the ports of Lamu being expanded.
Yes.
If you travel right now from here to Moyale, you are going to have a tarmac where only camels are enjoying their time. I mean, years ago, we never used to have such. So Is it true that the government has worked?
That's why I said, I agree a lot with Daktari that there is a lot of infrastructural development that has happened in this country. But when we talk about the highway being built from the airport, for example, what is the percentage of Kenyans that are able to see that highway? What is the percentage of Kenyans that are able to travel to Moyale to see those roads? That is the reality on the ground. When you go to in the political environment, and Daktari has done politics for a while, and I'm sure he'll agree with me on this, that politics is very local. It is just not about you who is able to sit in Nairobi and can see that there is an expressway being made towards Westlands. It is also about the common mwananchi down there in Naitiri. Who votes? Does that person also know that there is an expressway being made from the airport? That's what we're saying. There is a communication breakdown in the systems of government. If they could make their communication and public relations better, that the common mwananchi can be able to distill that information, then it would be better. Just the way they really tried to do with the BBI. The problem is the government concentrates more on political projects. Like when it comes to ensuring that Kenyans understand political projects, they really work hard to ensure so. But then they don't work equally hard for Kenyans to then understand economic issues. So that's why then we'll always have an outrage. That's why people will cry and say, what is the need of the loan? And they would be right to do so because they really don't feel the loan. We cannot judge Kenyans by the little percentage of people in Nairobi and the little percentage of you and me who is able to travel to Mombasa and see the port and who is able to travel to Kisumu. What about the common Kenyan in Turkana? Does that person know that these things exist? And do these things directly benefit this person? It's about the macro and the microeconomics. Because a Kenyan who cannot afford a meal does not really care about the railway. A Kenyan who does not afford a meal does not really care about this road that you're building. It's until you make them understand.
So the key word here is communication.
It's communication.
Daktari, let me bring you in here. Have we lost it? Is there hope?
Let me tell you, Victor, what I'm really perturbed of is where the politicians don't seem to be appreciating what their government has done. Yet they are the ones who are in the mainstream. Because the misleading lot in this country, when a whole senator wakes up today and says, what exactly is the president doing? Yet they are the policymakers. When a whole member of parliament wakes up today and said, what does the president do? I mean, where did we go wrong as a country? Because why is it that we don't want to, I mean, those people who are supposed to be in the kitchen are coming out and asking others, can you cook? Yet they are the ones actually who are supposed to cook. Our leaders involving the National Assembly, the Senate, are the people who should be telling us about what their government is doing. They are the policy makers. They are the one overseeing what's happening. Like now, when you tell me, Victor, about the projects which have been done, who have been doing the monitoring and evaluation to ascertain what was actually done? Does it mean that the executives are left at their own freedom to do what they want to do with the money that has been that has been given to them? I mean, through a budget. Does it mean that there should not be a follow-up among the members of parliament who are actually doing the monitoring and evaluation to ascertain what has actually been done? But why is it that they are also cursing what the government is doing, like the mwananchi on the ground? I mean, why are we in the darkness when our leaders are there? So what has happened, Bwana Victor, in this country is that we have exonerated politics than anything else. We don't seem to have any other leader apart from a politician. And that is where we have gone wrong. It is a high time we go back to our drawing board. Now, take for example, Victor, if for you, I mean, last year, the other day, you were seeing the Senator Kiiga, Ichungwa. Ichungwa was the chairman of the budgetary committee, 2019, 2020. When this budgetary, when this budget of 635 billions were actually increased. And then again, on the same month, this is the time when they increased the debt ceiling to 9 trillion. The government now has a debt of 7.35 trillion. It has not surpassed the ceiling, that is 9 trillion. Now, in this case, why are we overcrying when it is the one? The only problem that we have, Bwana Victor, is that our GDP is now 9.8. Our debt ceiling is 9 trillion. And when the two equates, it is the worst thing that can happen to the country. So this is something that we must be more careful. As it is now, with 7.35 trillion, we are still safe. But we are at the danger zone. We are at the dead zone.
The biggest question somebody is asking out there is, how are we going to repay this money? Mundalo, how are we going to repay this money? That is the biggest question. We are borrowing, yes, the developments are happening, but it's going to have a ripple effect in our pockets.
Definitely. It's definitely the common mwananchi who is going to pay through our taxes. Of course, we'll have the huge explanations of the projects we'll be able to plow back.
Right.
But then we are looking at the example of the SGR, and we are seeing that the SGR is not able to plow back what its target is for a year. So that means then we have to get some other money. So we are investing in projects, yes, but the amount of time that then it would take for them to plow back and repay the loan is more than the time we have between the time we took the loan and the time we're supposed to repay the loan. So that basically means that we have to get some money from somewhere else. And there is nowhere else where a country is supposed to get money away from the taxpayer. And that is the biggest problem that we are having. Because in as much as we are going to say, and Daktari will make the grandiose explanation that, that the projects are there and the money is being used for the President Kibaki was able to build the Thika Superhighway and many other projects and many other roads. We didn't see a lot of this hue and cry that is being able to be seen now. So we must be able to accept that we are not treading on very smooth grounds. And that's why even Daktari himself can be able to say that we are not at the worst place, but we are at a danger zone. The question is, why are we at a danger zone? We are not supposed to be at a danger zone as a country. So it is unfortunate that the truth is the repayment of the loan has to come from the mwananchi, and two, it has also to come from renegotiation, because once we have maybe another government in place, they might be able to go forward and renegotiate these loans so that for some we can have reductions, for others we can have extensions in terms of the duration that we have to pay. That is the only way we are going to deal with this. But the reality of the matter and the truth of the matter is that the common mwananchi, the common Kenyan, is not feeling the impact of these loans that we are borrowing. And that is the primary reason why governments exist. Governments exist for the people. So what the people feel is what the government output is.
It might not be.
It might not be the reality, but what they feel is exactly what. So the government should be working very hard to ensure, because look at it right now. Just the other day, after the president locked down about 5 counties, the following day, we had demonstrations in town, and people want to go back to work. That is how bad the economy is. People don't have food.
But some of them, some people could argue that that was just hot air. I mean, the president was taking his stand because the coronavirus is here, and he's just trying to have that executive order to protect us.
And that is true, and the president is doing his work. But what I'm saying is, what is the feeling of the people on the ground? In as much as the president is right, and COVID-19 is real, and he must protect us from COVID-19, but when you look at some of these reactions of the people, you are then able to know how the economy is doing. Because that simply means, in a situation where we are moving along the path of death, because COVID-19 is ravaging, people are still willing to hold demonstrations and say, look here, we are willing to risk and go back to work. That shows you how bad our economy is doing. That people would rather risk to go and even be on the front line than sit at home, because they can't afford to sit at home. That is the reality of the economy. It doesn't matter how many ports we have built, but for as long as the common mwananchi is not happy about his living standards, then that is it.
Gentlemen, we have to move very fast because of time. I'll give you 1 minute to respond to that as we go to the next one. This is connected to the IMF and all that. 2022 succession politics, and every politician now wants to run with it. You know, we want to call on the government to do this and all that and all that. Where are we in terms of 2022 succession politics right now, Daktari?
I think, Victor, 2022 politics is now shaping up. In the past several months, we've been seeing His Excellency the Deputy President has been at the forefront. We have also seen Right Honorable Raila Odinga, even though he had not announced until the other day, when, of course, we are still looking at it as a rumor, because they are yet to come up with the whole thing. Then yesterday, we was also seeing another shaping up in the mind of Mukisa Kitui and the other team. So, generally speaking, 2022 will be a highly and hotly contested kind of election, which actually we are foreseeing. But again, the more the contestants, those who are actually running for the presidential race, the more competitive the ground will be come 2022.
Yes, and we are likely to see more alliances forming.
And one thing also that I wanted us to realize about these alliances, Bwana Victor, when you talk of an alliance between Kalonzo Musyoka, Gideon Moi, you talk of the likes of Mudavadi, you talk of Wetangula and all this and that, I want you to cluster Wetangula and Mudavadi as one, because they come from the same region. They are constituents, I mean the same people. Then talk of Kalonzo is coming all alone, because we may not tell, because Kibwana is also joining the other team of Gifuta, I mean the Mukisa Kitui, we saw in the talk yesterday. Raila is shaping up. So when you look at it, how many of these national parties with heavy contestants, those who are known, who are actually having the real backup of their own backyards? So you can address about 3 people. If say Raila, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Mheshimiwa Deputy President Ruto, and then Mudavadi.
Yes.
If they were the 3, I could tell you they have constituents where they are coming from.
Yes.
And of course, Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes.
But going by the mathematics, you find Gifuta Gibwana huko, you find Ngilu, you find this governor in the same camp. Imagine they are looking at the same constituents from their own people. And then you also have Kalonzo Musyoka in another camp, that is in the National Alliance, having also Mudavadi, having Wetangula, having all those. So when you look at all these shapes, when it reaches a level of analyzing, we must see those who have got bigger constituencies, bigger constituencies in terms of numbers. You cannot tell me about 3 people or 4 people from the same community will make any difference. It would have been rather one person from that community. So because why I'm talking about the communities, because even though I personally don't want to drift back to the communities, but let me talk about the constituency. I mean where a person can marshal the support. Like now when you talk about His Excellency the Deputy President, he's all over.
Yes.
So he has, with him, he has an advantage. He has an advantage actually of marshalling the national support. You cannot compare him, with Kalonzo Musyoka. You cannot compare him with Gideon Moi. You cannot compare him with the only people whom you can compare.
His
Excellency the Deputy President is the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who can marshal also a national support. So to me, I'm looking at the 2 leaders.
One
is Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and one is His Excellency the Deputy President.
Hold on there. Mundalo, let me just, alliances are being formed. We have got One Kenya Alliance right now. And we are more likely to see others forming up because we have got politicians who are trying to come up together and have the negotiating power come 2022, because most of them are going to go for the post-alliances and an agreement in the next government. What is this significant thing that the likes of Gideon Moi, Senator Gideon Moi, Moses Wetangula, and all those other dignitaries, are they going to bring a new change that they're purporting to bring come 2022?
About change, I don't see much, because if you're talking about the One Kenya Alliance, then it's an alliance of the people who have existed here before. There is no breath of fresh air. This is Musalia Mudavadi, who was vice president to Moi. This is Kalonzo Musyoka, who was vice president. So it's basically people who have been here before.
Right.
And so what I look at it right now is the alliances that are being formed is actually just political strategy going on. Because today we have Honorable William Ruto, who has created a constituency of people called hustlers. And quite in some numbers, you can say. Because in terms of being politically correct, even in his strategy, the Deputy President has run away from his tribal cocoon of being Kalenjin and created the hustler nation. Because being Kalenjin does not necessarily work to his advantage, because it reminds Kenyans of the Moi presidency. It reminds them of the 24 years. So in a clever move, he has moved away from that, and he's now called a hustler. Right? Now, when you come now to the other coalition, the One Kenya Alliance, now this is a coalition more or less of tribal and maybe regional kingpins. Because I think their strategy, therefore, is that since we cannot face William Ruto directly, then we would need to have many of us who can be able to be regional kingpins everywhere. And that's why they are all going to different regions to ensure that they create a kingpin. That's why in the by-election in Kabuchai, you could see all of them going there to campaign for a member of parliament of Ford Kenya because they want to rubber stamp the authority of Ford Kenya in that region, and then rubber stamp the authority of ANC in Kakamega, Vihiga, and then rubber stamp the authority of Wiper in this other region, so that when they come together and put all these votes in one basket for the presidency, then they can also get the presidency. I think that is their strategy. And the only problem, therefore, would be that in the history of political alliances and realignments, there has been no coalition that was formed too early that was able to make it to the end. Most coalitions that win elections are formed about barely 6 months to election. Look at the NAC, look at most of these coalitions, they come at, but when you form the coalition too early, you also provide a lot of room for infiltration. You provide a lot of room for people to get into you. You provide a lot of room for people to look for who to snatch among you. So it's basically what is wrong about their strategy is their timing. Their timing is too early, and maybe that's what makes me then agree with the Daktari when he says, as far as it stands, it is still a Raila Odinga, William Ruto war.
Okay, let me ask this question. So Raila Odinga is here. The other 4 gentlemen have now moved to form the alliance. So all along they've been together, the NASA, all right? And all of a sudden they've moved them, they've formed the alliance. Raila is now standing on that corner alone. Are we likely to see Raila Odinga coming up with a shocker? Because he's also a politician, he's also strategizing, he's also making his moves, he's also calculating his moves. What shocker are we likely to see in the coming months towards general election? Briefly, as we bring in Daktari.
As we move towards the election, one of the shockers that I expect is that at least 1 or 2 members of the One Kenya Alliance will cross over to the Raila Odinga camp. I also expect that Raila Odinga is crafting his alliance. And because of his political experience over time, he knows that he will not unveil the alliance too early. Not now. At least after the BBI. At least after the BBI.
And that's exactly what he said.
When he is so sure of when you are creating this alliance, what are you promising them? For example, when you are bringing 5 people onto one table, what are you promising them? Now, when the BBI will have sailed through, you are promising them that one can be prime minister, one can be deputy prime minister, and the other can be deputy president. So there is something to share. But when you bring them too early and then we don't have the BBI, what then will you be able to share with them? So I think he's being brilliant enough to ensure that his coalition that is trying to craft comes after. And I'm expecting people like Mukhisa Kitui to be part of that coalition. I'm expecting people like Kivutha Kibwana to be part of that coalition. Of late, when you listen to Maendeleo Chap, he also leans more towards that side. So of course there will be a Raila Odinga coalition. It will definitely be there. But then it will not come at this time. And now that is where the problem of the One Kenya Alliance will come in. Because by the time these alliances will, there might even be a William Ruto coalition that will come up. So when those 2 coalitions come up later, then the talk of town will be about the new coalitions and not the One Kenya coalition that will have existed for over a year. People love new things. People love new news. And that's why when you exist for too long, you become stale and you stop being news.
Daktari,
yes,
your take on that. Are we likely to see another shocker?
Looking at the scenario, prevailing as it is now, Bwana Victor, you know, this handshake has costed a lot Raila's support in his backyard. Because before the handshake, when we talk about the NASA coalition, Raila was a very powerful man. Talk about Western, talk about Coast, talk about all these places, even Eastern. Raila had a hand. Now, when you look at the coalition that are coming up now, it is like it is costing Raila a lot of support. Because when you talk about Coast, who are now coming up with their own party, you talk about Western, which they are now coming up with this coalition. Which, of course, most of these places that we are talking of now were Raila's strongholds. So, Raila has to work extraordinary to achieve his original base, I mean political base. And going by that again, the possible alignment that may actually be very fruitful for Raila is an alignment between Raila and His Excellency the Deputy President.
Is that even possible?
No, I'm just telling you the possibilities.
But because is it possible for them
to come
together?
I know,
because they say in politics there are no
one thing that I know,
enemies.
One thing that I know in politics, you cannot, like Right Honorable Raila, he can never accept to lose or be outside. He would rather have a half bread than having nothing at all. So in the end, they may say, yes, we have to accept that Ruto has been the deputy president for the last 2 years, so he can front him as the president, and he becomes the deputy president. That is not an impossibility to Right Honorable Raila Odinga, because by the end of the day, he will be in the government. And then let us look at this again, Bwana Victor.
Yes.
His Excellency the President has a very big influence, which I can say it is a silent influence, which we are yet to understand. The whole of Mount Kenya region are yet to speak. They have not spoken anything, but they are yet to speak, and their leader is His Excellency the President. So in this case, this silent vote means a lot in our future politics. It will also determine who will be the president come 2022.
Yes.
So looking by, we've been observing that maybe out of this handshake, His Excellency the President may say Raila Tosha, or he may go back to his original friend, the deputy president, Tosha. So that one also is something that I can say it is a sleeping giant that if it wakes up, it will determine the winner come 2022.
Let me just put it this way. So what do you expect moving forward?
Moving forward?
Yes.
Maybe next time when we shall be here, you will be confirming what I'm telling you today. The only viable
is dynamic.
Listen. I'm telling you the dynamism that is ahead of us.
Yes.
The only viable strategy for Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto is for them to come to a consensus and agree to forge ahead for the 2022. That is the only way Raila can recover his backyard.
What if it doesn't? What if it doesn't? Mundalo?
There is a way in which nowadays, I think for the last 2 months or so,
yes,
people allied to the deputy president have a lot of praise for Raila Odinga. They have a lot of good words.
Is that a strategy?
They have a lot of good words for Raila Odinga, including the deputy president himself when he said he's the only national leader in the country, which is true, but not one of the words you expect from the deputy president anyway.
Yes.
So I have seen a lot of them really trying, because the reality is that the deputy president has, and his supporters and his strategists have been able to come to the reality that they stand cornered. They stand cornered in this manner. They stand cornered by the realities of the by-elections that have happened before, where out of about 10, they were able to win about 1 or 2. So the association of people and bringing, they're coming to the reality that Kenya is a highly tribal country, highly ethnic country, and this constituency called Hustler is more euphoric than realistic. You have a lot of, they go to Kisii and you'll have a lot of them come and attend your rallies. But when they go back home, they remain Kisiis and they have their leader.
Yes.
They remain Luyas and they have their leader. They remain Kambas and they have their leader. And that is the problem that is here. And that's why the deputy president is finding himself in a corner. Because with the One Kenya Alliance, which is trying to lock out every other region and making every other region more ethnic and regional based, then the hustler narrative becomes something in thin air, because then it lacks ground support if everybody is to go back to their original cocoon. And that's why with that realization, they are feeling like it's now time that they start warming up to a coalition with Raila Odinga. And they are feeling like, in fact, the more Raila Odinga looks like he's not being treated very well in the handshake, the happier the William Ruto camp becomes, because then they feel like now what unites them is their problems. That they have the person who owned them before wants to throw both of them. Now that is what they want to be there, now their uniting factor. But we have not seen Raila Odinga speak to it. We have not seen Raila Odinga warm up to it. But we're only seeing these other, the deputy president camp. And you know the reason why the deputy president camp is warming up to this?
No, tell me.
The reason is because a union between Raila Odinga and William Ruto can only make William Ruto president. Because William Ruto cannot be deputy president for another 10 years. He is barred by the constitution. So when they come together with Raila, there is only one way forward. The only way forward is Ruto must be ahead. The only other way now for Raila is either for him to endorse Ruto and play kingmaker, or be humble enough to play deputy president. That is the only reason why every William Ruto supporter today is warming up to Raila Odinga.
Politics, Victor, is about perception. And going by what is visible now, it is so visible that Right Honorable Raila has lost its original political base, as it is in Western, as it is in Coast Province.
Why do they want him?
Number two, so when looking by that, Raila must ally himself with somebody very strong, which will also be backed up by his experience in politics. I believe he will make it, but with somebody of the likes of Ruto, not anybody else. You talk about, let me tell you, Victor, the likes of Mudavadi.
Mundalo is itching here.
The likes of Mudavadi, the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka, all these people have been surviving because of Raila.
Yes.
Basically because of Raila. And most of them have been able to talk loudly and have the strength because of Right Honorable Raila Odinga. So in this case, them being alone, they're like orphans.
Okay, let's just move quickly because of time. Let's have a lineup, the One Kenya Alliance.
Yes.
Give me your probable lineup from the top in that order. Because their biggest headache right now is to pick who is going to be the president. Should they make it to 2022? Paint me a picture on who is going in that particular order. Give me a picture.
If the One Kenya Alliance is, there's a perception that it's being backed by some state house machinery and stuff like that.
Yes.
If that is true, then they will have no option than to front Gideon Moi for president.
Followed by?
Now, I think that would be more or less followed by maybe Musalia Mudavadi for deputy president or something. But then, the biggest headache here today is the person you front for the president. And in as much as the perception on the ground and the perception of the supporters of One Kenya is that Musalia Mudavadi will be fronted for president, I doubt they will be in for a rude shock. Because if the rumors are true about who is behind the One Kenya Alliance, then the realities of who brought, the realities of how Mzee Moi brought Uhuru Kenyatta and fronted him to president will be the reality of how then Uhuru Kenyatta will front Gideon Moi for president.
Daktari, your lineup?
I think my perception is a little bit different, Victor. Looking at Gideon, you talk about coalition, you talk about an alignment, people coming together. Whom do you expect in Rift Valley Gideon to come with? Because as we are talking now, we have only one KANU member of parliament. If we have, but almost I can say none. Who is he actually bringing? And even if the president said, I'm endorsing you, without your own constituency, can you make a wake up and become the president overnight? So in this case, Bwana Victor, look at if it was Mudavadi.
Yes.
Mudavadi has a bigger constituency, the Luhya land. If they front their own person, I could see Mudavadi having a constituency because he has the people. So if today the coalition will say they pick on Mudavadi, I'm sure that they will make some effort.
Give me your bet line. Give your bet line.
My best this coalition. You're talking about the coalition.
The probable lineup.
The probable lineup, I can see Mudavadi being ahead of all this. Then, because of strife, Gideon would come on the other side. Maybe Kalonzo come from the other side. I think that will be the trend. But the key person here is Mudavadi.
Okay, gentlemen. My director says that we are running out of time. Let's just cross our borders briefly and talk about Tanzania. May he rest in peace. Dr. Magufuli was buried a few weeks ago, and here we have got the new president, and she's come up with a raft of measures trying to bring the country back to line. And one of them is to form a task force to look into the coronavirus. What do you see in Tanzania moving forward? Mundalo?
I think I was part of the people who are very skeptical with the leadership of Suluhu, having been a vice president that was even very little heard about. But I think she has taken it up from the right trajectory. We've seen her trying to really bring in the energy that Magufuli left. So I think she's going toward the right direction, and she's also trying to align the country back to the realities of the entire world, so that the country does not remain isolated from the rest of the global space. So I see a lot of progress that is going to happen in Tanzania. I see her continuing the legacy of Magufuli. The biggest problem with our judgment of Magufuli sometimes is that we concentrate so much on the COVID, on his stand on COVID, and then forget about many of the other good things he did, because he was able to revamp the infrastructure and did a lot of good things, build the airport without loans, by the way, that we are doing in this country. So I think President Suluhu is, I think she's a good bet for Tanzania.
Right.
She'll be able to move the country to better.
Daktari, as we come to an end,
When I looked at Suluhu, this is a very balanced politician. She is also very sober in her look.
Yes.
And even the decision that she made, that she is now looking forward to technocrats or professionals to come up with the so that the country can take a position based on the advice from the, you have heard the president when he was saying, he arrived at the lockdown after receiving pieces of advice from the professionals, the doctors, on how to curb the COVID-19. Look at the way Madam Suluhu, the president of Tanzania, is approaching the whole issue. In fact, she seemed to have arrived at the point that Tanzania has been isolated as far as the COVID issue is concerned, and the kind of denial that they have experienced for a long time. She's feeling that they isolated themselves from the world.
Yes.
And because of that, she's coming now with a polite approach.
Right.
An inclusive approach.
Yes.
That let us think. Otherwise, if you can ask Lusahi, what is your position? She can tell you that people must be tested. We must follow the Ministry of Health regulations on how to curb this pandemic.
Yes.
And that's actually the position that she has.
So it means that Tanzania has a new future. Gentlemen, my director says that we are short of time. Of course, we cannot exhaust this. We have so much to talk about, but time runs and flies when we have a good time, all right? We have got Mundalo Advice, who's a communication strategist, and Daktari Joseph Rotishu is a governance analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And of course, you as a viewer, thank you so much for keeping us here. Remember, communication continues online. Go there on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Let's get talking. We are taking a short break, but we'll be right back with Lifestyle. Keep it KBC. Good morning, Kenya.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya jitume mwenyewe kwa simu yako, bonyeza *811*963#.
Unavyojikakamua kupata ufanisi, ndivyo utakavyofurahi baada ya kufanikiwa. Usisubiri kusukumwa na mtu, jitume mwenyewe.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii, bonyeza *811*963#. *811*963#. Tonight on KBC Channel 1. Comedy Jungle. Respect everyone. Now we upon nobody forgive our motivation. Me I gonna make it out the sticky situation. Have to believe in myself. Goodbye to the region again. To achieve the vision again. Goodbye to the children again. Another children. Close my eyes, a falling dream in memories. In the street, they call it murder. Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa.
Kila kitu maishani kina sauti yaleta furaha. Sauti ya elimisha, yahimiza, yatuleta pamoja. Sauti ya Kenya.
Radio Taifa.
Well, many thanks for staying with us. Time for our last conversation this Wednesday. And on our lifestyle segment, we want to focus on tours and travel. And this is after the new containment measures that were issued by the president the other Friday. So how have been tours and travel companies surviving? That is what we want to find out. On set, I'm joined by Raymond Cheruiyot. Hope I did pronounce that correctly.
Cheruiyot.
Cheruiyot.
Yes. That's actually right.
Yeah. All right. So
yeah.
he's the CEO of Uray Safaris.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just begin from the most difficult part, because I mean this is the second time, and when we were having this conversation off air, we were saying that just when tours and travel companies or people in the tourism industry were trying to pick up again, that was in October, November, thereabout, then again, like what, 3 months later, another lockdown.
Right.
How are you picking up?
Well, you're not picking up really, because
it's difficult.
Interestingly, we had a lot of hopes in 2021, and we kept thinking that this 2021 is a time that we're going to break all these stories about getting stuck and all that. Because last year we had a projection of 3 years down the line, that is a time that we will come back to the fold.
Yeah.
But comes 2021 and close the doors.
Again.
Go home, sit and watch. It's crushing.
And this is close the doors with no solutions, as you say.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you just told, no, you guys, it's about time you close the door, don't come out, don't go anywhere, just sit and watch. And there's nothing as crushing as that. And when you're in the top leadership of your organization, and you're not able to go beyond what your customers would be expecting you to do, it's not one of those things that anyone would want to experience. It's basically like the president of Kenya being told, close Kenya, and you have no solution. It's like Kenya being isolated, being placed in a place, and you're being told, don't move. All right?
Don't do anything.
All right, yeah. Just like recently when UK said, we don't want guys who are coming in from Kenya.
Yeah.
I mean, how painful can it get?
As to a country.
Yes, to a country. You're being told, no, you guy, don't come, just stay there. All right. We understand, of course, that we have to take measures, but can we take measures that we have we have control over? You don't just say sit and you have nothing to eat. You don't just say close the door and you don't have ventilations. You don't just say don't move and you don't have an option. I mean, naturally, you want to have your body moving around. All right.
Yeah, true.
And that is how painful it is. Guys have lost jobs, and losing jobs doesn't just the people that you've employed, even the residents or your office locations, because you have to close the office, go home, and you deny the tenant, or rather the landlord, your rent. So then it also goes to them, and so it has a spiral effect. You tell me I don't have business, then how do I pay for the office space? So I go home. And when they go home, then the landlord goes home. Then we have no one doing business, because essentially the landlord also has employees that they need to serve.
Sure.
And those employees are families that they need to feed.
Yeah.
Guys who are working with Uray Safaris, they also have families that they need to feed. So it's a sort of.
And you know, Ray, it's what we were saying some time back is that it is, or rather it was a difficult time being a president of this country at that point, because I mean, you're sort of like stuck between saving lives and the economy. But let's come back to you at Uray Safaris as the CEO. Have you managed to retain all your employees?
No, how do you retain all the employees? I mean, if you're cancelling out all the trips that are supposed to be there, if you're cancelling all hotel bookings, and basically we get earnings from those hotel bookings, we get earnings from all the trips that we're having, how then do we get to pay those people who are sticking around?
Okay.
So basically what we've done is that we've given them a freelance operation. If you get someone who would want to come in, let's read together. All right? So we're calling a scale down.
So you've scaled down.
You're still with us?
Yeah.
But let's all of us tackle this. You basically like you're under attack. And being under attack means as a do the marshalling, you also do the marshalling, and we all get to see whether they're going to earn a living or not. Yeah, right.
So, okay, fine. So is it
it's a scaling down?
You've just
basically.
scaled down
Yes.
for this period?
Yes.
All right.
And then we have, of course, that is the only sensible thing that we can do.
Clearly.
Yeah. I mean, there's another option. Here in a situation where the government said close the door and that's it. You were expecting that they'll say close the door and
give a solution, perhaps. When you talk about that, I mean, just the way we're saying again, there's when you look at these different industries, the tourism industry, those in hospitality, the entertainment, yes, we understand that this COVID has definitely affected different industries, and even after this new measures again, all industries, if I may mention, but these specific ones, there's really like a hard hit on them.
It's an extremely hard hit area. I mean, businesses are affected, yes, but the guests who are 100% affected are the guests who are doing tours and travel. Because
it relies heavily on moving
100%
around.
on the movement.
Yeah.
That is the only,
which has been restricted.
It's actually what we call, tours and travel is a social business.
All right.
It being a social business, then it involves a lot of people. And if there are no people to serve, then that's it. You are actually crippled.
You don't have business.
You don't have business because if you've been crippled, then that's it. Then you are at the mercies of what would happen. Right? You just now have to do a lot of things that are conventionally not within your business areas.
Yeah.
And it's quite an unfortunate thing. Because like I told you last year, we had a lot of hopes in the 2021. It's only that now we didn't want to sing double like we did in 2020 because in 2020 we didn't specify what double we're expecting. So we got double losses. All right. But this year we just said we are optimistic. We're seeing things coming out right, basically based on what happened in December, October, November, thereabout.
All right.
But I would say, and without throwing blame, we have a lot of people who act irresponsibly, and those people are politicians. These are the people who gather everyone and anyone to come for a gathering. And no one, if you look across, there's not a single person in their gatherings who are putting on masks. Totally different from when I've an organized trip. I just have to make sure that every single customer that is coming in has a mask on, they've sanitized, and they have space. So if you're traveling, then you're keeping space that is safe for everyone. No one wants to die. Everyone wants to live life that is healthy. So then they're very cautious. But in a political rally, you cannot ask anyone who is next to you to move. And because Kenyans are either for the love of their politicians or for the love or for the lack of doing something else, they just want to come around and listen to them.
And they have to be there.
And have to be there.
Okay.
And that is a lifestyle as well that politicians define. And without fear of contradiction, it starts from the top.
As it trickles down.
Yes. So we have everyone else who is saying, okay, fine, I want my constituents to come in, so I need to call for a rally and guys come in, another one comes in there, another one comes in there, and no one really thinks about what would happen thereafter. Because at the end of the day, after the rally, everyone else, they take care of themselves. They go home, and if I picked it from Doreen, then I take it to my family, then my family takes it to the other family, through children.
This is how it spreads.
It's how it spreads.
All right. Now, we'll come back to the government interventions in a short while, but let's go back a bit to your safaris, because, again, you just mentioned that you also are organizing trips, even up till now. You have an oncoming trip on 10th April, and this is a time where we know that there are no gatherings, and like you mentioned, people in tours and travel is like a social kind of business. How are you doing this?
No, this is what we need to do, and like it's true, we have a hiking trip to Mount Longonot, to be specific, on the 10th. And first, we are making sure that we have enough space within the vans, or the rosas that we're using. Make sure that everyone is masked up, and the vehicles you're using get thoroughly sanitized. So we spray it before we travel. It's an exercise thing. So people will be walking. We will not have people who are gathering and talking to themselves. We are climbing the mountain, the Mount Longonot, and so people are walking. We're not, it's not like a rally or it's a church where people get stuck.
In one place?
In one place. We are moving, so we have a lot of space and a lot of fresh air. I don't ask anyone to go out. In fact, it's much better when you're just out there and breathing. You get to the top.
The fresh air.
Yes. Go to the top and look at how the world is, all right? When you come down, we do a stretch. People stretch, they stretch their muscles, do exercise, flex your joints and all that stuff, and get home. And we're not going to a restaurant to eat. We will fix our own food, all right? And we just make sure that everyone else is safe. Everyone is conscious. Even though for those guys who've signed up, they're conscious. They want to know, is it safe? People ask, is it safe for kids? Is it safe for families? Right? These are things that people need to embrace.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you talk about the safety and even people asking whether it's safe for me to even be there, I want to imagine that these are people that do not even know each other.
All right.
Yeah? So about a group of how many persons are you carrying along?
In a roster of 27, we are carrying 15 people.
Okay. So that means that also the number has reduced?
Of course, you can't have everyone else in that
on
process.
board,
So,
yeah.
And that is where the misfortune, I would say, is, because the vehicle needs to be taken care of. At the same time, I need to take care of your pocket.
Yeah.
So I can't ask you for more, and I need to have this vehicle done. So basically, what we're doing is not even about making money. It's about getting people moving around and being able to exercise their bodies and yeah, just be themselves. We call it kujiachilia. Do it.
Because also, again, staying at home in this period, you know, sometimes doing nothing.
Let me tell you, Doreen, sitting at home, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5.
A month, 2 months, 3 months.
Not even a month. You feel like you're being suffocated. You feel like you just need to be out there.
Yeah.
And it's also, it gives a lot of good mental health. It makes you think right. It makes you really look at yourself and say, hey, this is Ray, this is me, right? It gives you a chance, Doreen, to say, okay, fine. I've been out there, you get your brain working, you have you're thinking, not thinking about anything that affects you negatively, but everything that is positive. You get what I mean?
Yes.
And that is what this is all about. It's not about going to make money, because there's no money that we're making here. I can tell you that for sure. It's on cost. We just need to get guys moving and being able to be themselves, exercise their body. And that is the kind of lifestyle that I think we need to adopt.
Okay. Yeah. But also, again, when you look at it, this is some of the things that you are employing at Ure, at least to continue staying afloat a bit, if I can mention, because, again, you look at many tours and travel companies, they have shut down.
Absolutely.
They have closed down.
That is the truth. So now, I think it's all about now thinking
outside the box.
Outside the box. You just need to think, should I just stick here or can I do something else? I've seen other tour companies who ventured into training, right?
Yes.
And because one of them is Kudu Safaris. They do trainings for upcoming tour operators and all that stuff, all right?
Just to be able to do something.
Just to be able to do something and to be able to share out. Because so now this is one of the moments that we are sharing. This is one of the moments that we're sharing what we know, what we do, what is it that we shouldn't do and all that stuff, all right?
Yeah.
And that is what life is. That is what gives us a chance, or that is what we're looking forward to every single day. All right? It gives us hope. It makes us a people who would want to live and just enjoy life.
Live and just enjoy life.
Yes.
Now, when you look at that, and also again the fact that there are so many tours and travel companies that are coming up, especially of late, and we might attribute this to the fact that we want people to start loving and embracing local and domestic tourism. But at Ure Safaris, what do you think sets you apart and makes you different from all these other tours and travel companies?
Right. One of the things that we have put in as a company, as Ure Safaris, is first of all, one of the key things that we know for sure where you travel is you need to make memorable moments. All right. And that is an area where you invest a lot. You just make sure that you get to enjoy your money as it should be and have that memorable moment, because 10 years down the line, you want to look at yourself and you say, oh, what happened? All right? We need you to talk about your experience. And in the process of talking about your experience, then, of course, then you talk about us. That is, so it's not about the money. Our focus is on you. Because
as the individual who's coming on.
We is seeking to partner with you. So we want to be you. We want to be in your shoes. What exactly are you experiencing? Are you happy with it, or you're not happy with it?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So the focus is on individualized travel.
All right.
Every single person that we have that has traveled with us, they will tell you for sure, this is it. Right. We might not be as big as the guys who came in earlier. All right. But I can tell you for sure, 5 years, 10 years down the line, we'll be at the top. Because that is what we are. That is who we are. That is Yuri Safaris.
That's some level of optimism there, which is very good.
Absolutely. And I can tell you for sure, every other moment in the coming years, guys will be talking about Yuri Safaris.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, Ray, when you talk about some of the issues that especially affect the tours and travel, business, especially here in the country, just away from COVID-19, there's also that fact of lack of us as Kenyans, if I can mention, or even Africans as a whole. We really do not take travel as a priority, which could also be one of the downsides in that particular space or industry. But for you as a person who's been in this business, what is your greatest motivator of wanting to just continuously be in the travel business?
What I can tell you for a fact, Doreen, is the biggest motivator, of course, is that we want to be better than who we are.
Okay.
That is the biggest motivator. We want to be the better than who we are. And people always think that traveling is expensive.
A lot.
A lot of people think actually traveling is expensive.
Yeah.
But who told you that you must travel? There are a lot of sites that people can visit, even within Nairobi here, that people don't know. People need to just be on the look and say, okay, fine. Because you can spend 1,000 shillings. That 1,000 shillings, you would use it to buy milk and all that stuff, and it gets finished. But you'll have, if you spend that 1,000 shillings in, say, taking a walk in Karura Forest, for example, it gives you that memory of what it is, what nature is, and all that stuff.
Yes.
And it's an investment in you, right? You don't need to have thousands, hundreds of thousands to be able to travel, right? You just need to look out for options. Like what we're doing is that we're not just saying, fine, you must have 10,000 shillings to travel with us. You can have 1,000 shillings, 1,500, 2,000 shillings to travel, and we square it out, and you take advantage of that. I think it's a perception of people that traveling is, or someone would think, okay, fine, why would I really go to Mount Longonot?
Why should I make it a priority?
Yes, someone will say, why would I really want to go to Longonot?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? The health, the networks that comes along with it. Because in that particular trip, we have business people. We have people who are working in a certain organization. You get to exchange ideas. When you go and do a team building, then you get to understand, so Ray does this as well. Joe does this. Or Doreen does this. Right?
Yes.
So by so doing, then you are enriching yourself. They say your net worth is your network.
True.
How do you create a network when you're sitting at home? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Because you also can, with 1,000 shillings, then you can buy something that will go into your stomach, and the following day is not there. You still need another 1,000 shillings. But if you spend 1,000 shillings in taking up a trip, then it sticks with you forever. It's like knowledge. It's never going to be erased from you.
And it's also part of what you're trying to do is at least to just try and change that narrative or perception, most especially for us as Africans. And again, there's always that issue of it is expensive, just as the way you've mentioned. So do you feel like a good number of us may really not want to embrace travel because it's expensive or because it's just not a priority for us?
I think it's just not priority.
Okay. It's not the expensive part of it.
It's not the expensive part, really, because now, look here, Doreen, we are saying, I'll give an example. We have well-based migration coming up. We all know that it
usually happens yearly.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right? And we are saying, now you can start saving 200 shillings, 500 shillings, 100 shillings towards that particular period. So you just need to say, I want to travel in September. All right? So that 1,000 shillings or 100 shillings or that amount of money that you can save. And you're giving options. You're saying, hey, deposit 100 shillings, we'll keep it for you until that time when you'll need it, because you will need it, then we go and travel. All right? Someone will say, so how much would I need to spend for 3 days, 2 nights in the Masai Mara so that I'm able to watch that? You don't have to go to stay in high-end camps. We have budget camps that are equally comfortable, that would equally accommodate you. What do you need to do? You wake up in the morning, go for game drive. By the time you get back, you're so tired, you just need to sleep.
Yeah.
All right? Get into your tent. For 3 days, 2 nights, spend 9,000 shillings, and you get back home.
So also it's a question of understanding your budget, knowing how you can save little by little for that particular travel.
Yes. If someone comes and says, because it's all about self-management, it's all about what you want. But one of the key things that I can tell you for sure, Doreen, is that people don't look at themselves. They look at what is around them. They don't invest in themselves. They want to invest in what is around. And what is around is, what can I go and buy this and I have this? Can I fix that? And then in the process, you forget yourself. You forget who you are. You forget who Ray is. You forget who Doreen is. Right? So one of the things is, if people can get, and this is one of the questions that I asked most recently.
Yeah.
How is your relationship with yourself as a person?
That is also where it needs to start.
That's where it needs to start. Yeah. How is your relationship with yourself? What are the things that you need to do for you? Right? And in the process of you doing those things, then and you have your healthy part coming up, then you get to relate with people that are around you very well. But if your relationship with yourself is bad, then you cannot have a good relationship with those people around you.
Okay.
Because you can't give what you don't have.
All right. So it actually means that we can change this perception about travel and start embracing domestic and local tourism.
Absolutely. But I need to say this, Doreen, that the whole of 2020, from March, a lot of people that we served, a lot of customers that we served are all domestic people. I think people are starting to see. And people got to know new places, right? And traveling means you need to look around yourself and have it embraced, right? For people who are married, for example, if your partner loves traveling, like my wife loves traveling, I used to travel in my mind until she started traveling. Then I saw it. Right? Then now we support it. And we say, fine, can we do stuff together? You get what I mean? So you also can learn from yourselves. Most people travel in their minds. Most people would say, I want to travel. Yes, and Ray, I'm going to travel with you this time around. And they tell you it's going to happen for sure, and they close their eyes and say it's going to happen. Towards the D-Day, the story has changed. Something has come up.
Isn't that what we do oftentimes?
That is what Kenyans do. But I think now, they say you put money to where you value.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So start valuing past that. And you say, now I'm going to make my commitment. Start by doing a small deposit and say, hey, you guy, in July, when well-based migration starts going, this is my deposit towards a particular day. And from today, I'll be giving you this.
And you start depositing as early as perhaps as now, if you really want it.
If you really want to, you deposit from now. My business is to remind you, hey, Doreen, you still have that trip that is coming. So far you have this much. You have done 3,000 shillings.
Yeah.
We still have 6,000 shillings to go.
Yeah.
All right. You as an individual, you go and sit and you look at yourself and you say, okay, these are the options that I have. I need to buy milk, I need to buy this, and out of this, I need to deposit.
That means you've begun valuing travel and you began prioritizing it.
Absolutely. And you've started valuing yourself. You get?
Yes.
More often than not, when you're doing things, you don't do things that for us. You don't do things for you. Right? And I'm telling you for sure, I'm one of those people who used to travel in the mind. I see this place and I really want to go, and fine, can we go? Most of the travels from 2016 backwards were all driven by my wife. All right?
Yeah.
And out of that value is what we picked, and just about embracing what needs to be happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, anytime we have such kind of conversation, we can never miss talk about domestic tourism, because it is very important for also us to love what we have and go to those places and see how they look like.
Yeah,
you
right.
understand? But again, also there's always that question of, and you've mentioned it here and there, that someone can start saving just little by little on a budget if you intend to travel. But again, there's that question of refund policy. What if on that day, just the way you mentioned, I'm not able to, because I mean, things can happen.
All right.
And sometimes Kenyans would fear, like, what if I save little by little, then I'm not able to? Will this company refund me my money back?
All right. The question is at the end of time? If you don't travel that day, is at the end of time?
Yes.
Or you'll still be living? Are you still going to be hopeful?
I won't travel.
No, I'm asking. We've said we're traveling on the 5th of July.
Yes, on the 5th of July.
Then on 4th of July, you say you're not going to travel because something has come up.
And I've been saving.
And you have been saving.
Yes.
All right. The question is, would you want to travel after 5th of July?
Perhaps if I say I don't.
All right?
Yes.
Then basically you're killing that dream that you had, that you really need to be.
So there won't be any refund?
So, no, you have your money, because
Yeah.
it's your money. We're not investing it. We're not using it for anything.
It was for that particular client.
It was for that particular client, and that is it. All right. Perhaps the only thing is when we know Doreen is traveling, then we also place bookings to camps. All right. So it's not just money that comes and sits with us. It's just money that transits
to the various areas.
Yes. So if we have given out funds, because we're 100% sure Doreen is traveling.
Yes, this is why she's committing anyway.
I mean, that's the whole reason why.
Yeah.
So then we transition and say, hey, we call Zebra Plains in Masai Mara and say, Doreen will be coming on 4th. Then again on 5th, we call Zebra Plains and we tell Zebra Plains, Doreen will not be coming anymore. All right? There are lots of preparations towards this. There's a vehicle to prepare. There's your tent to be prepared. There's also your food and everything that you will require to be prepared. And all these things are done on your day of travel. All right? And that is why they always say, tell us 7 days in advance. But we understand that that things that could happen that goes beyond your control.
Yes.
Exactly the reason I'm asking you, would you want to travel after that? Because if you want to travel after that, then we would we'd want to tell Zebra Plains that, hey, Doreen will not be traveling this time around, but she's likely to travel after a certain time. Please, for the deposit that you had done for her, can you kindly transfer it? All right? Then it doesn't become a total waste.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And we don't want to kill the dream. We don't want to kill your dream of going to
And I
Masai
think
Mara.
that is what makes sense there.
Yes.
So yes, in as much as there's things someone may not have control over and they may need to withdraw, but at the end of the day is, would you still want to do it again? Because that is the whole point.
That is the whole point. The whole point is, it's not about you. It's not about you doing on that particular day.
Yeah.
It's about you. Can we just live the dream?
Yeah. Can we start loving and embracing the local and domestic tourism?
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk a bit about digital space and digital platform, because where we are, and you know, there's a lot of conversation about we might never go back to normal per se, in a sense that we may need to start embracing the new space that we are in, and the digital space for most businesses is the way to go. For you as a person in the travel and tours businesses, how has this helped your business grow, or just people know about it in one way or the other?
I think one of the biggest platforms that has helped us is on social media.
Yeah.
And one of the key things being this is a social business. Then people get to know you, and then you transmit whatever you are doing. A number of times when you're in the Mara, we transmit live. We actually do virtual tours. Go there, screen for guys, they get to enjoy that, and have a feel of what is on the ground. Right? That's one of the key things that digital has helped us with this far. Right. Another bit of what we're doing, or what the digital era is helping us with, is reaching out to clients over platforms that enables us to have eye to eye, though it's not physical. Right. And it brings out quite a strong leverage. Right. At the comfort of where you are, you're able to deliver your message, and you are able to convey what needs to be conveyed at that particular moment. That's what digital is doing.
Okay.
And it helps a lot, big time.
So it means like digital is actually one of the things that we need to start focusing on.
Absolutely. Every time when I go to the park for a game drive,
it's on
live.
the digital space.
Yes. Get you around there and get to see it, and you get to feel. Tell you when you go to the Mount Longonot and you're seeing it visually on wherever you are, whether you're using your phone, and you're just imagining how would it have been if I was there, and all that stuff. And that's exactly how we're doing stuff.
And
even for those guys
who are operating at least.
For those guys who will not be coming, I'd want you to watch how it's happening as you're moving along. Some of those questions will be answered about what are the measures you're doing as you are against this COVID spread and all that stuff. We'll also be able to transmit that. And it helps a lot.
All right. Now, Ray, I'd like you to especially speak perhaps to our viewers who might be watching and they are in this business as you. Because again, you realize that sometimes people can complain a lot, and yes, it is valid from the point in which they're coming from. But then again, also you get to understand that that's not how you can live forever, because also the way we said it, it's sort of like in a hard place where our president was. Again, because you have to save the economy, you have to look out for people's health. But this is where we are. What can you say to those in the tours and travel business in ways in which they can employ, at least to sustain themselves and stay afloat a bit, regardless of what is happening?
All right. What I can tell my colleagues in this particular field is don't despair. That the door's been shut, you're just being told, sit down there and wait. Don't wait. You have to come out and keep looking around. Partner with other guys. One of the key things in this particular industry that I've learned is that partnering is key. You
can't operate by yourself.
You cannot operate as a person.
Okay.
So pooling resources and working together makes everything work simpler for you.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Those people who've been there before, they are able to marshal the numbers. Then you work together. And by so doing, then you are synergizing and now creating space for yourself. But you just can't sit and wait for stuff to happen. It's not going to happen. All right? Especially that we know that we do not have a defined template that we've been given by the government and say, now shut the door and do 1, 2, 3. The story ended at shut the door. Whatever happens is in you, just yourself. All right?
Yes.
So I'm telling my colleagues in tours and travel not to give up. They must stand up and be on their feet, think outside the box, all right? Synergize, work with guys who are in that particular. You can identify who you can work with.
Yeah.
All right? Personally, as Ure Safaris, we've worked with different people. We've worked with 360 Adventures. We worked with other
tours, travel companies.
Yes.
Okay.
There's we have Ure Escapades that we work with. And that's what makes life. Yeah, right.
All right. I think that's a good place to end it. Just think out of the box and partner with the various companies that you can.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Ray, for your time and at least for making us understand what it is that tours and travel companies can do regardless of what you're facing right now.
All right.
And that is how we bring the conversation to a close. I'm Doreen Range from me and on behalf of the entire team that made this show a success. We say thank you so much for watching. Till tomorrow, good morning.
Thank you.
The soccer talent started in Kibera's lands at KBC Church in Olympic Estate. It has since then evolved into the best talent nurturing academy in Kenya, currently training at Kenya Science. The academy is comprised of all types of kids and youths. According to soccer talent coach Glyda Swani, who has mentored several stars now with the national team Harambee Stars like Jesse Were, David Cheche among others, the initiative is the beginning of a journey that will see his outfit contributing to growth of football nationally.
Soccer talent I started in 2013. My idea was to put those kids together. I nurture them, at least I improve their skills. I realized that in soccer, you have to start in a tender age. When they are growing, you improve their basics training. I've nurtured some players who have been in the national team. Some of them are in the national team and they've been supporting me. Somebody like Jesse, somebody like Cheche, somebody like Edwin Lavasa, somebody like Sad Musa. They've been there all the time when I need them, and I'm happy with that.
The academy, whose product Kevin Manyasi is in the Kenya Under-15 team that participated in Mediterranean International Cup Under-16 tournament in Spain, narrates about his experience with the junior stars.
I started playing football officially when I was 4 years old. I like football because I enjoy playing it, and it's a team sport, so it involves many players and you get to interact with other people outside the country and locally as well. It's been good getting to know other people, seeing how you can improve in your talent, and also getting to interact with people.